Hello YouTube, Captain Mac here, and welcome back to Captain Mac Live, the show where I get to make all the mistakes and you get to make all the fun. Good times, right? So I noticed a couple mistakes right out the gate as I'm getting things started up. My little not the intro video, but the little video I play to let you know the stream's coming on in a couple minutes. When I made that, it was for the first live stream we did a few weeks ago, which I flew the Captain Sim 777. And so that still shows that on there as the equipment because I didn't think about it when I made it as a little video clip. So lesson learned there. I'll have to clean that one up. And then you see on the overlay on top of your screen there, it says that I'm flying a Boeing 737-800. I am not, but I can't get that to change. I restarted that program several times, excuse me, and there's no option for me to change the aircraft. So for whatever reason, that program right now with the latest X-Plane 12 update thinks that we are flying a Boeing 737 rather than our beautiful MD-11 here. So not much I can do about that. It is what it is, but yeah, good times. Either way, we are going to be flying from London out to Innsbruck. Now I don't know if an MD-11 has ever actually flown into Innsbruck. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't. I know they fly 757s in there. I don't know if they still do. They certainly did for quite some time. I'm not really sure if they ever flew anything bigger than that in there. But it was viewer requested, and you know, I can't deny what you guys ask. I mean, when you guys say you want to see me do something crazy, I'm going to probably do something a little bit crazy. So we're going to fly the MD-11 into Innsbruck today, and you are darn tootin' we are going to be flying that circle to land approach on runway 8. So we're going to see just how bad old Captain Mac can mess that up. Should be a good time. Honda Jet down there in the comments. Howdy, how are you, sir? Honda Jet is a friend of mine. He helped me out actually right before the stream kicked off here to remedy that missing scenery issue we had on our last flight in this aircraft. When we reran the updater to check for scenery, it shows that I have all the scenery installed, but then it showed that it still needed to install 19 megabytes. So it's like one little dot of scenery in the middle of nowhere, and I just happened to fly over the one that was missing. So good times there. Who else we got here? There's at least 3 of you on here, so if you're taking a look and you haven't subscribed, I know I set it to subscribers only. That's just because I don't know, I think that's a little fair, right? I mean, asking you to subscribe to the channel and then jump in the chat, and some of you might subscribe and jump out, and that's fine too, you know. But if you're on here and you're taking a look at what we got going on, please do hop down in the chat, say howdy really quick. Ian Boy's on here. He's got to take this beast. Yeah, I do want to take it into Kitech. I'm waiting for a really good add-on scenery for X-Plane 12. I know there's a decent one for 11. You can fly the checkerboard approach. I think I'd really like to see one in 12. I do think that overall the graphics are much better in 12, so I'd kind of like to see that. But that's a tough approach, man. I've flown that in a 747. I still want to do a video on that for my unusual, difficult, and dangerous approaches. That's probably one of the coolest approaches of all time, flying over that city. The only downside is you crank up the settings so that you get all that city, and sometimes it slows things down a little bit, right? Who else we got in here? There's 5 of you on there now. Jump in there and say hi. We're going to hop into the flight deck here in just a minute, but I want to take a look at a couple things first. First and foremost, I want to talk about the donation drive for Joe. There is, I think there's $100 more than what it shows on here because it was donated through a different link. So I think we're sitting at like right at $390, and I am so grateful for all of you that have donated. I am going to continue doing this donation drive. I really want to do this for Joe. This isn't for me. I'm not trying to make myself look good or anything like that. So if you're watching this, whether it's as a live stream or as a video, you can that donation link down in the comments section. Please go down there, click on that. Joe lives in Fort Myers, Florida. Fort Myers, is it Meyer or Myers? I think it's Fort Myers. He lives in the Fort Myers, Florida area, and for those of you who are not aware, that is the area that was the absolute hardest hit by Hurricane Ian. Don't believe me, go on YouTube and type in Fort Myers Hurricane Ian time-lapse, and somebody did a time-lapse video of the flooding there, and I kid you not, it was over the top of the street signs where this video was taken. Absolute insanity. And so my goal here is to raise the funds to build a new computer for Joe. Joe's been a great friend for a long time. He is the Chief Operations Officer over at Mac Air. He does tons of work over there. He's doing tons of volunteer work in Florida right now, trying to help people out who have had far more devastation than he has. And he's just an all-around fantastic guy, and anybody who knows him knows he's one of the best guys you'll ever come across. He's the kind of guy that he will give you the shirt off his back and then ask you why you needed it later. You know what I'm saying? So please, if you haven't already done so and you get the opportunity, do click on that link down below and donate towards Joe's new computer. I would be very grateful, and I know Joe would as well. Okay, so with that out of the way for the moment, I want to take a real quick look at the flight plan using our Sim Toolkit Pro here. We're going to do that before we jump in the aircraft. That's actually how you normally do it, right? So most of you are probably aware that the pilots usually meet in a pilot lounge area, and they go over the flight plan and the weather and all of that good stuff. We're just going to take a quick look at the flight plan here, and then I want to look at the approach. Even though we're going to brief it again later, I just want to go over a couple things about it real quick because it's going to take some time, right? So London to Innsbruck, Heathrow to Innsbruck, it is 511 miles, so it's going to be about a 2-hour flight. Our takeoff weight, we're looking at about 462,546 pounds, and we are landing at 440,536 pounds. So what I did for this one when I loaded the flight plan and sim brief is I just put the cargo setting on auto, and I let it put in whatever it decided to put in. So that puts our zero fuel weight at 419,037 pounds. Not super heavy, but not light either, right? Scroll down here just a little bit. You can see our block fuel is 45,509 pounds. I put the taxi fuel is 1,000 pounds in the aircraft. I don't think it's going to be more than that, but if it is, we got plenty because our trip fuel is 22,010 pounds. And then you come on down here, 2 packs on board. That's just the 2 pilots. Really, it's just me because I don't get any help when I'm doing this. Cargo is 156,500 pounds, which puts our total payload at 156,900. So it should be heavy enough, but not too terribly heavy. This is the weather we're looking at. I don't know why I can't pull ATIS right now. Yeah, at Heathrow. I don't know about at LOWI. Yeah, ATIS not available. Not just in here. I'm having a hard time. I can't pull up the radio frequencies either. So either way, wind is 090 knots. Overcast 1,300 feet, and QNH 1012, which is going to be 291, I think, on inches of mercury. So, and if you want to read the TAF, you can go ahead. Now, real quick, we're going to go over it again when we get closer, but I just want to take a look real quick at our approach. So this is the circle to land approach. I've got it zoomed in. We're using our Navigraph charts here linked up with Sim Toolkit Pro. These 2 charts are going to go together. So we're going to start out on this localizer approach here. This is the way this is set up. We're going to fly this down until we get right down here to 4.2 nautical miles from OEV. And we're going to have to make sure this is set up in the FMC properly. Then we switch over to this chart. So you see right here, 4.2 from OEV, we're going to hang a left to 230 degrees at 3,700 feet. We're going to fly this out. Now, this doesn't actually give you a specific turning point, right? So it's just sort of at the base of the mountains here, I guess. You could use the Innsbruck VOR here. It's not a VOR though, right? It's a I can't get my brain to function. Either way, you could use this, but we're not really on an outbound track from that, right? So we're going to fly it up here to a certain distance. We could use, if I can set it up, we can offset from the OEV localizer, and we could use that. So when we are, what's the word I'm looking for? A beam. When we are a beam, the localizer here, we could use that as our turn point. So we're going to turn to 264 degrees. We're going to take that all the way down. Now there's a church down here. That's what this is. This number 1 is the visual cue. It's a church for the start of the right turn, but I don't know if you're going to be able to see the church in this sim or not. We're going to find out when we get there, right? R. Bauer's on there. Hi, how you doing, buddy? I didn't say hi right away. I apologize for that. Great to have you on the stream, though. I'm glad you're able to join us. For those of you, I saw a couple people popped in and popped out. Maybe they just got bored already. Don't worry, we're going to get to the flying here real quick. I just want to take a quick look at this. Happy Gimp is on. Great to have you here, buddy. Thanks for joining us. So either way, when we're 3.5 from OEV, that's what this point is right here where the church is supposed to be. So that's 3.5. We're going to start that right turn. It's a descending right turn to line up and land on the runway. So that's what it's going to look like. We'll talk about it again when we get closer, but I just wanted to show that to you really quick. All right, so let me move this out of the way here. Here we go, shrink it down, and now let's hop up into the flight deck and let's get to work. Okay, I've got power on the aircraft. It's just ground power. When we do the live streams, I like to go through a little bit more, but we are going to go through it relatively quick. So jumping back here, the weather radar switch is in the off position. That's this guy here. And then jump over here, the fuel switches. These three down here, sorry, are all off. These are the start switches. Fuel switches are off, spoilers are down, and they're not armed. Flaps are in the up position. The gear is in the down position. And then we jump up top here. The fuel dump switch is this guy right here, and the man F drain switch, this guy here, both guarded and closed. Emergency power selector is off. That's this knob up here that's going to stay off for a little bit. Excuse me. The battery's already on. Cockpit lights are as desired. Master caution, we pushed it off. It keeps coming back on, doesn't matter. External power is on. Doors, all that stuff has been opened up and is all set up. Then it comes to the Captain SIS panel. We're not going to do it, but this is the SIS panel down here, and then this is your static air source up here, which comes right after that. Let's see, clock, the time's never correct when I fly, so it doesn't really matter. And then radio selector switch, VHF1, hasn't been working right, but I just can't seem to get the radios to work. Oh, we got us a new subscriber over there, Lamar Gaskin. Thank you for subscribing to the channel, and say hi down in the chat there. Welcome to the fun. Alright, pressing on here. We need to go to the FMC. Go in here, get things initialized. I don't think I saved this flight plan, as a matter of fact. But I believe I can still do it. So you guys can't see what I'm doing here. I'm just pulling up my sim brief. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to see if I can do this while the aircraft is loaded. And this will be good for all of you guys too. So if you go to your sim brief, you can download the Rotate MD-11 flight plan. You see that the window popped up there. I'll just move that out of the way. I'm going to Control X that and move it over to my X-Plane 12 aircraft MD-11. And it is user data, saved routes. And I'm going to click Control V to save it in there. So I've saved the route in the appropriate folder now. Let's see if it shows up. I don't know if it will or not. So company route, it's going to be EGLL to LOWI, and I imagine it'll probably work what I just did. It did. Fantastic. So easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Our alternate is LSZH. So we're going to go L, S, Z, and H. That's our alternate here. Flight number is MAC 2336. I'm still waiting for somebody to tell me if they know what that means. I know somebody in the past knew what it was, but cruise level 370, nice and high. That tells you that we're not that heavy, right? That we can get up to 370. Cost index should be 185. Let me double check it over here. Cost index 185. That's as high as it would let me go. So 185 on the cost index. If you hear banging around, that would be my 2-year-old son upstairs acting like a maniac. Good evening to you, Lamar. Great to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. If the Rotate MD-80 gets X-Plane 12 support, do you think you'll fly it? I tell you what, here's my stance on new aircraft at the moment. Money's a little tight, right? So I'm more than happy to fly any aircraft anybody wants me to. Once I have the funds for it, I'll gladly pick it up. So I kind of look at it like, if a lot of people say, hey, would you fly this Rotate MD-80? If I'm getting a lot of folks saying that, then that'll move up on my purchase list, right? And so then I'll do a full flight tutorial on it, and then we'll do some flights on it, live streams and so on. That's kind of how I look at that. So hopefully that answers your question, Ian. Moving back up top here, nav light needs to be on. It is already on. I gotta get that thing off. I don't know why that's always automatically docked. There's probably a setting I could change for that. Nav light is on. If you click it, it shows off. Emergency light, we want to test that. You can't see it because it's too bright out, but then we're gonna go ahead and arm it. And then no smoking and fasten seatbelts, those got to come on as well. And we're going to skip the APU startup just for the moment because we got a few minutes left here. Go straight over to the annunciator lights test, this guy right here. And if you hold the button down, you can switch your view and you can see all the other annunciators light up. That's how you get it, but you got to hold the button while you do it. Alright, so as soon as you let go of the button, it's going to turn it off. Cabin pressure system light, that's this guy here. Remember, system light, system light, system, system. If you click on it, it shows manual. When it says system light, verify, extinguish, that means it's on automatic. So that's what we're, anytime we do system light, that's what we're looking at. So cabin pressure system light is extinguished, outflow valve is open, the needle is pointed up, and air APU switch still not on because we don't have the APU on. So let's go ahead and turn these on. Give those just a second to get going there, and then we'll jump down into the FMC here. I forgot to show you guys that. You guys have seen it though. It does the cargo fire test. If it doesn't do that test, you can just do it manually, right? Easy enough. Back down here, and let's see. First thing we need to do is initialize IRS. Bam, that's it. That's all you got to do to make it happen. If you go here, take a look at your block field, 45.5, and you're supposed to put that in your refuel amount on the next page. So go here, refuel quantity, 45.5. I don't know why that is, but that's what you do. And I am in the process of reading more and more about this aircraft so that I understand it better, like the LSAS. If you guys don't know what, I forget what it stands for, but the LSAS is essentially part of your yaw damper system up here, and it has to do with the vertical control of the aircraft, and it keeps it from doing certain things and helps it do other things and so on. So Ian says, if I get accepted into Philadelphia Fire Academy, I'll be more than will gift one to you. Oh, more than happy to give. Well, that would be super awesome. I never complain about a gift, but I certainly don't. I don't like to go in here and ask for them. So that's a extremely generous offer of you, and if that's something you decide to do, I will be extremely grateful. And if you don't, or you're not able to, don't worry about it. Like I said, if enough people are asking for it, I'll definitely pick it up myself. So thank you so much for that kind offer, though. I appreciate that. Let's move on here because we need to finish getting this bad boy set up down here. Okay, so we're good there. So now we need to go to the flight plan initialization. This guy over here, EGLL. Click on that, and then for our SID, it's going to be, and I'll just pull it up over here, runway 9 right, I believe. Yep, 9 right, and the DET1J, DET1J. So the SID is DET1J. Let's find that. There it is, DET1J. That's going to be off of 9 right, and it doesn't show anything for a transition, so we'll go ahead and just insert that. And then when we look at it here, we'll see if there's a discontinuity all the way out to DET, DVR, Conan, and then it's on course from there. So easy peasy on that. And then our arrival, we can go ahead and do that now as well, because our arrival is going to stay the same. So we'll pick the star over here, and it is going to be the Matty 1B, this guy right here. Again, we're not going to do a transition. And then the approach is the visual circle to land, which I don't know that that really, let's see, it's just listed as visual approach procedure. I don't know that that shows up on here. Let's just scroll down and see. It doesn't. Now I will tell you this, like I showed you very briefly, it's the special localizer DME East approach, which would be runway what is it, 26, right? So runway 26. So we could select, let's see, that's the localizer 8 west. So that's a different approach. That's the localizer 26. So I would think that this is maybe the special one. See, that's where I've never tried to do this in here, so I'm not sure which one you would select. But I think, so that should just be localizer 26 there. This would be localizer 26 coming from the west, and I don't know what the R is for here. Anybody got any idea on that? Looking in the comments here. Yeah, same thing, Honda, towards Ian there. Definitely good luck for the Academy. When do you find out if you get accepted? That'd be really cool. I'd like to know about that. I think for this, I'm going to go with the L26R. Let's see what we get. Transition at RTT. Now I got to look at my charts here when I do this. So RTT would bring us out here. I think that's good, actually. I think that might be it. So let me insert that and let's take a look at what we got here. So come out here. So RTT, then Adwig. That's correct. And then local 1714. Let's see if we need a 4.2 on here, because that's that turn point, right? but these are all missed approach here. So there is no 4.2 on this one. You got 63 LOC, which is 6.3, and then MA26, which is your missed approach point at 2.6. So I don't think that's the right one, guys. What we could do is we could say, could try and redo it real quick. It is pretty good about deleting the ones you're not using. Yeah, let's try one more time. LOWI. Return to flight. That didn't do what I wanted to. Okay. LOWI. No. It's not even going to let me now, is it? That's interesting. That's a first. Okay. One more time. Is it going to do it? No, it's not going to do it. Okay, so we're going to stick with that for the moment. We'll figure it out. I'm not that worried about it. We're fine. Let's go to our performance page here. And let's see, that's the climb. Actually, we need to go to thrust limits. So we're going to do a normal takeoff. We could derate if we wanted. We could do takeoff 1. I think we've got plenty of runway for that. Let's do that. Let's do a takeoff 1 derate. It's still really high, actually. But we're going to go with it. And then performance for the climb, we'll do normal climb. Takeoff and approach page. Now in here, this is where we need to put the runway slope and all of that good stuff. So in our case, for EGLL, does it show the slope? It does. So it's up 0.017, so up 0.02, up, you can hear my son going nuts up there, up 0.02, and then the wind, right? So the wind was 090 at 8, and the runway heading, I think, is 090, right? Because we're taking 9 right, it's 089, so it's basically an 8 knot headwind. So we can just go HD8. Oh, you got to put a slash in there. Slash HD and 8, and then we'll put that in there. Bam. If you want your outside air temperature, you can grab it right here. It's plus 15. That's the fastest way to do it that I know of. And then flaps, we're going to do a flaps 22 takeoff, and then of course it always tells us check and confirm V speeds 136, 149, and 156, and that actually takes care of setting up the FMC. Easy peasy, right? Okay, I don't know why that was disconnected, but I reconnected it. We're good to go over there. They want to have the EMT B class in the Academy by November. Okay, so you'll know pretty soon then, right? That's good. Fantastic. All right, let's press on with our checklist here. Excuse me, there's a hiccup for you. Jump up top. Those say nav off because it's still doing the alignment. That will go away. So let's do the test on here. You can't really see it unless I zoom way in. Watch the needle there. The needle zooms or jumps over. Fantastic. Jump back to normal view. Bus fault lights are out. Cargo temp is fine. Engine ignition off. Light is not off because we haven't selected one yet. Hydraulic system manual light is off. That's again this system light, and then auxiliary pump. Or I'm sorry, we're doing not that's for starting. Hydraulic pressure test. Click on that, and then if you jump down here and you click this guy onto hydraulics, just like that, and you'll see the test will kick off there momentarily. Alright, I'm not going to wait forever for that. It takes too long. I can hear my son upstairs screaming. He's throwing a fit. He's 2 years old, so he's literally made it his mission in life to redefine what terrible twos really means, and he's doing a good job at it. Smoke and electric and air selector, that's this guy here, should be on normal. Drive 1, 2, and 3 switches are all guarded, 1, 2, 3, and the cab bus. Emergency power we can arm now. It'll do its own self-test. Air mass switch, we want to verify that's guarded. That's this guy right down here. And then exterior lights. Landing lights are retracted, nose lights are off. Left and right wing runway turn-off lights, that's these two here, are both off. Nav light, we've already verified it's on. Logo light is off. We could turn it on, doesn't really matter, it's daytime. We're going to do a daytime flight. I'm trying to avoid that flashing we get. Beacon and high intensity lights are both off as well. Flap, limit, and elevation feel, that's all these guys up here. Everything should be auto and all lights off. That includes the LSAS I was talking about earlier, and I forgot what it stands for, but I'll get to it eventually, right? Cabin pressure valve, we want to make sure that it's open. We're going back, so we did this once, we're doing it again. Ditching switch, verify that's guarded and closed. Anti-ice and defog, all those lights should be off there. We're not doing the fuel use reset button. Now we can go down here to the flight management area, and if we take a look, this would be a good time actually, I think. Oh, we got Espen on here. Welcome to the stream there, Espen. Great to have you. We are just about to take a look at our taxi and departure briefings here so that we can finish getting everything set up. So let me do that here. Bring Sim Toolkit Pro back over here with our Navigraph charts. Fantastic. So you can see where we're at on the airfield right here, out in front of the cargo apron. We're going to hop out here onto Sierra. We're going to just follow that all the way down to hold short of runway 9 right. Pretty simple, right? If we go in here, this is going to be our departure. It is the Det1J departure. You can see as we come out here, we're going to turn to 120 degrees out here to intercept this D34.0 DET. So that's 34 nautical miles from DET, and then when we get out here to 29, now DET's out here, just so you know. When we get out here to 29 nautical miles, we need to be between 3,000 and 6,000 feet, which shouldn't be a problem. If you hear bloody murderous screaming in the background, that is my 2-year-old upstairs in a completely different part of the house, screaming at the top of his lungs. I have no idea why. It doesn't sound like he got hurt. Doesn't sound like that kind of scream. So when we get to 20, we need to be between 5,000 and 6,000. At 6,000 at 16, at 6,000 at 5, and then at 6,000 at DET. So we're going to be at 6,000 for a little while. So we probably want to set that as our initial altitude, and then we can climb up from there. I need to remember to hit the profile button. And then you've got the same thing here. This is just the routing in a textual format. Easy stuff. We're used to that, right? So let me get this back over here, get it out of the way, and we can press on. So we're going to set this to 6,000. That's, yeah, I just kept going below 5, right? Set that to 6,000 feet on there. And altimeter. So let's try, well, I don't even know if it's going to work. The reason is, so the ATIS here is, where are you at? There's 3 ATIS frequencies for arrival. The departure is 121.935. Let's give it a try and see if we can get it to come up. 121.935. So go on here, 21. I don't think, yeah, see, you can't pull that up on here because it goes in increments of 25. So I don't know, is there some trick to that? Does somebody know? Is there something I can do to make that smaller increments? Because I don't know. I can get 925, but I can't get 935, and I don't know if there's a way to change that or not. I have no idea. So for the moment, I have to go with what I have on Sim Toolkit Pro, which tells me that the altimeter is now 1011. QNH is 1011. So now we all know that I typically fly on standard, but you can just click it up here and that switches it over. So that's 1013, 12, and there's 11 there, and it syncs up on both sides. So do the same thing on this one, 12, and now we're at 1011 there. So the barometric pressure is set. Minimums control knob is set to radio altimeter. We'll leave that as is. Heading readout, magnetic indicated on the nav display, magnetic here, and this should say heading here. Indicated airspeed should be at 250 or an alternate initial speed. We're going to want to switch that to FMC or FMS speed after we take off. Bank angle selector is auto. AFS override switches are both up. And then we can come down here. Don't forget to uncage this guy. You can do an oxygen mask test if you want. It does work. Nav display clock we know is wrong. That's fine. And let's jump back here. We can change that view up there back over to config. And then we can do our little test here. So we got 4 red lights above the handle and 4 red lights on the configuration page. That's a good test. Throttle test.
Stabilizer. Brake. Full lap. Flat. Boiler. Stabilizer.
Okay. Won't make you listen to it for all of them, then for whatever reason, number 3 doesn't work. Alright, moving on. What else we got here? Flap takeoff selector, rotate the wheel to the required setting. That's this guy here. Now if you try to do it from here, it tends to bounce around a lot. Although right now it looks like it's working. We're trying to go to 22. Let's see if I can get it from here. Usually I can't get it from this angle. But it's going to let me today, right? There we go, 22. That's fine. Let's see. Set heading to departure runway, 089 degrees. That was way too far. Wait. That sucker turns quick, doesn't it? 089, there we go. Auto brake set to takeoff position. That's down below here. Set that to takeoff. And that's going to bring us up to closing up the doors and everything. So we're doing good there. Pat's here. Hi, Pat. How are you, buddy? I did a flight in this airplane earlier today, Pat, and I chose to land flaps 35 and at a faster speed. And I did that explicitly so that you would have to do the paperwork if I crashed because, you know, I like you, right? Let's jump up here and grab our aircraft menu. Go to our ground operations. You know, real quick, while these are closing up, let me just close these up. And we can get rid of the stairs and we can get rid of the chocks for now. And we need to turn on the APU. So all the way up top, click the stop start or start stop button. And it takes a minute to get spun up. It's a little slow starting up. That's alright though. And then once we get that bad boy up and running, we will be pretty much ready to rock and roll. We don't have to push back because we're going to pull straight out that way and then hang a left. So I don't know why these aircraft are backed into these positions. It's kind of weird if I jump outside here. It's not just us, it's all of them. That's kind of weird, right? You would think they would pull in forward, but I guess this is the way they do it here or something. So that's fine. So we're just waiting for that APU to become available. It'll tell us down here when it is. So what else is going on, guys? We got 11 of you in here right now. That's fantastic. For those of you who weren't here at the beginning, I know it says Boeing 737-800 or Boeing 738 on the overlay there. That's an error with the overlay. It won't actually let me change that for some reason. I have no idea why. Something to do with the update, I'm assuming, but there you have it. So we're not really flying that. We're flying an MD-11 for those of you who don't recognize the aircraft. So APU should be up and running now, right? It is. So let's turn the power on there. Make sure you turn the bleed on. External power can go off at this point, and then we can get rid of that. Back to the aircraft menu. Dismiss that. Everything else is good to go. I did go in here before I did my flight earlier and just clicked on fix all failures in case that issue we had with the autopilot was an actual failure and not a glitch of some sort. Hold on, I gotta take a drink. It's soda, people. Get your heads right. Alright. Start up and pushback procedure. Beacon light needs to come on. That's this guy right here. Auxiliary hydraulic pump 1. This guy up here goes on. We're going to go with ignition B because I used A when I did my flight earlier today, and that starts the timer for the startup, right? So we want to make sure fuel and air system manual lights are off. Parking brake is set. Pushback can start at this point. We're not pushing back, so we're going to start with engine number 3. Click that bad boy up. Light comes on, and we're watching the N2 right here for 15%. Your last Mac Air flight left you in Atlanta. Any suggestion? What do you mean it left you in Atlanta? I have a easy suggestion. Fly out of Atlanta. There's 15%. I'm giving you a hard time. What do you mean by it left you in Atlanta? You should be. Are you saying you can't find another flight out of there? Alright, we're letting that come up. So it stabilizes around 23%. So when it gets to about 20-21%, you can go ahead and work on starting the next engine. And that'll be engine number 1. So it goes 3, 1, 2, and then on shutdown it goes 1, 3, 2. So there's 20% on there. We can go ahead and start engine number 1. Same thing, we're looking for 15% on the N2, and then we'll introduce the fuel. There's 10, and there's 15. Introduce the fuel. Same thing, we'll wait till it's at about 20%. You can see it stabilizes right around 23%. So once it gets about 20, we should be good to go. And then we can go ahead and start up engine number 2. You flew from Columbus to Atlanta and can't figure out where. Oh, you can't figure out you want to go. Where do you want to go from Atlanta? Well, what are you looking for? Are you looking for something heavy and long, or are you looking for something short and quick? Go ahead and start engine number 2 here. And again, looking for 15%. Now, sometimes when you do this, you might get a notification. It might not do anything, and it'll say to you, low start pressure, I think is what it says, or something like that. So you have one of two options when that happens. Option number 1 is you could do a cross bleed start, which requires you to run engines 1 and 3 up to about 40% N1, and you also have to manually configure the air on the overhead panel up here. Option number 2 is much simpler. Just click on the ignition that you're using to turn it off, wait about 3 seconds, click on it again to turn it back on, and it resets everything and you should be good to go. Okay? Canada's nice. You know what? And Canada's even nicer in Microsoft Flight Simulator since the latest World Update, because they make Canada look pretty darn good. So that's not a bad idea, actually. Now me, I like to fly the heavy stuff as much as possible, although I do like cruising around in a 737. That thing's like a little Corvette, man. It's fantastic. Alright, engines are all stabilized now. We do not have the warning on here that says cargo door test fail alert. Or we don't have the alert that says cargo door test fail, but if that shows up down here, you can jump up here and you press and hold this cargo door test button for 4 seconds. There's no need for us to do it, so I'm not worried about it. We don't need anti-ice at all. We can take the APU air off. The APU itself, we're not on that power anymore, so we can go ahead and turn it off. All the external power is off as well. We do not have FedEx alternate mode on, but if it is and you don't want it, and that would be another notification down here. If it says FedEx alternate mode and you don't want it, then open all 3 of these covers, push all 3 of those switches, and that'll turn that off. Nose light can go to taxi at this point. That's down to 1. Landing light remains off, but it can go to extended off. So that's off, but extended. Not sure why it's set up that way, but there you go. Logo light's fine. Pushback is complete. And we want to verify that it says taxi on the PFD, which it does down here. We've already got our taxi clearance. We're not worried about that. We know which taxiways we're going to take, and we don't need any ground guidance, but we do need to set our flaps. So the way this works is the first setting is going to be slats. So when I want you to look over here, this would show up on both PFDs, but you see it shows slats with an arrow pointed down. That means the slats are extending right now. Once they're extended, the arrow will go away. And then the next setting is going to be whatever our dial of flap setting was. So if my dial of flap setting was 20, then the next setting of flaps is going to be flaps 20. But because it's 22, you see it says 22 on here, arrow's pointing down, it's going to go to flaps 22. Alright, moving on then. Spoilers need to be armed. That's the wrong button. Come down here. Remember, down arrow, up arrow. A little higher up you get a hand, click and hold, pull straight up. That arms the spoilers. Same thing to disarm them, except you go down. Verify the flap setting on the PFD. Flaps 22, it is correct. TCAS needs to come on. That is this guy right here. And I put a little note on here. When you turn the TCAS on, because this isn't on the checklist, make sure you hit this traffic button here so the traffic shows up on your nav display. Stabilizer trim needs to be set as displayed on here. You see it says 5.9 there, 3.0 there, so we're going to go ahead and scroll that bad boy up until we get to 5.9. And there we go, 5.9 on there. And now we need to do our flight controls check. So I like to hop back to this view, jump over to the config page, and I got to move around in my chair here so I can get to my rudder pedals. And we'll go full left, full right, and neutral all the way up, all the way down, and neutral, and then full left on the rudder, and full right on the rudder, and neutral. You notice my rudder pedals seem to be working a little bit better. I think I know why. I actually found an extra set of rudder pedals up in a closet somewhere. No idea why I had 2 sets, but I found them up there, and I brought them down into my office, and I think the other rudder pedals saw them and got nervous about being replaced. So they're behaving properly now. Okay, that takes care of our flight controls check. Let's go back here for just a second, turn that back over to the engines page real quick. FMC needs to be on the takeoff page, which it is. This one over here I'm going to put on the flight plan page for the moment. Hit it again so that it goes to the proper spot. There we go. That looks fantastic. Now don't skip. Make sure you don't skip anything on your checklist when you get to this point, or you're going to mess it up. I've already done it several times. So we're going to arm the nav mode. You're going to see that pop up over here. So nav, and you see right there it says nav armed now. I know you can't read it, but that's what it says. Just take my word for it. It wouldn't lie to you. And that takes us to up to our hold point checklist. So that means we can taxi out. So let's go ahead and jump over to proper view here. Track car coming on a little jump. There we go. Let me center that up for you. Nice and pretty as you please. Grab my mouse so we can take the parking brakes off. And away we go. Any airplanes coming? I think all the aircraft I have are like static. I don't think I have any traffic right now. She's going to start inching forward nice and slow. We can add a little thrust if we want, but I'm kind of looking over at the chat here. Get a Pilot's Life Chapter 2. Where do you think you're going? You see that guy? There's an MD-11 moving forward here, and you just drive right in front of him, you will get squished like a bug, sir. A Pilot's Life Chapter 2, and they'll tell you where to go based on what company you work for. I didn't know they had a Chapter 2. We did a live stream. It wasn't a live stream, it was a premiere with A Pilot's Life, and the developer for that program was actually on the premiere stream. That was pretty cool. It was great to have him there. Alright, we're looking good. Let me just pull up my taxi chart here so I can make sure I don't miss anything. Getting a little quick there, you. There we go, that's better. Alright, hanging left. You're going to need a little asymmetric thrust there. Just a little, not much. She'll go pretty quick. These engines are strong on this airplane. Alright, bring her up around the corner. Looks like we got a company Trip 7 ahead of us, or is that a 767? Looks like a Trip 7 to me. Hard to tell from here, actually. I've been known to be wrong on occasion. It's rare, but it happens. Alright, so this is Sierra, so we're going to follow this all the way down as it twists and turns its way down to hold short of runway 9 right. Oh, that's what they're calling version 2 of the program? Chapter 2? That's a clever way to do it. Got another company MD-11 over there. Fantastic. Somebody asked me in the comments, they said, why do you always fly the FedEx colors? Is there a particular reason for that? And the answer I had for them was no. No, there's not. That's 767 there. The reason I fly FedEx really is because I started flying it just as like some extra flights, and I was doing what I called FedEx cargo ops. Many of you have seen some of those videos, and I just kind of stuck with it. There was no particular reason for flying FedEx colors except that I was flying FedEx cargo ops. I did do a couple of Lufthansa cargo ops flights. Might get back to some of those as well, but that's really the only reason I fly the FedEx colors, is because the one I picked. I do like the simple style of the livery. You can have a really complex looking livery if it looks good, but if it doesn't look really good, like if it doesn't really pop out at you, I don't know, it just doesn't do it for me. So it's easier to make it look good when it's simple, right? And that's what I think I like about it. UPS has a nice simple one. Lufthansa's is nice and simple, but there's some of them out there that get a little wild. Like a lot of those Japan Airlines, is it Japan Airlines, or is it, what's the other airline out there? I can't think of it right now, but they'll get those really crazy paint schemes, or Alaska Airlines will put the Disney paint schemes on and stuff like that. And those look alright. I just tend to prefer the simpler paint schemes for whatever reason. Now we don't have any thrust on right now. We're at idle thrust. This airplane just kind of keeps moving, so... Do I remember the Wilco CRJ with Phoenix Virtual Airways? Yes. Yes, I do. I remember that airplane was not great. Let's just put it that way. It wasn't very good. And it's not the first, it wasn't the first, and it certainly has not been the last time that we saw a developer put out a product that really could have been so much better. And then, of course, Aerosoft released their CRJ, which was really good. But it really is very different than flying a lot of these big commercial aircraft, and so it was a big learning curve. In fact, I think I did a few flight streams that I titled Training Flights, and they were a pretty good time. I enjoyed them very much, but that was a tough little airplane to fly, to be honest with you. And I never did get. I had some friends who, one was a first officer and one was a captain for CRJs with SkyWest, and I wanted them to hop on either a live stream or do a video with me to really get the ins and outs of that airplane, but it just never worked out. They were never in town when I had the opportunity. I never had the opportunity when they were in town. Alright, so who's excited about watching me try to stick an MD-11 in a circle to land approach on runway 8 in Innsbruck? Anybody? Because I know I'm maybe just a little nervous about that. It is going to be a tough landing. It really is. And the missed approach for that, you know, you fly right up the valley, right? So you got to fly way up the valley and then turn around and do it again. And that is just, it's a long, long missed approach. So we need to really be set up for our final approach when we're on that downwind, so that when we make that turn we can get her in there in one try. I have done that approach before in a 757, and I think I did a live, I think it was a live stream I did in 757 into Innsbruck, and the weather was absolutely utterly insane. We hit updrafts that were so bad on that flight. I remember I couldn't get the plane down for nothing. Like I had it on idle, I had the nose almost pointed down at the ground, and the airplane was still climbing. It was absolute insanity. Alright, so there's the hold short point right there. So we'll just creep her on up around the corner here a little bit, just slowing her down nice and easy. I mowed the yard today, probably the last time for this season, and my nose is like stuffy and ugh. It was all dusty and dirty. It's chilly out, but it's not very moist out right now. Alright, so for those of you who don't know, the proper way to pull up to a hold short line is to pull up to where you can still see it, right? So we're probably 30 feet behind this thing, but we can still see it. That's the way you're supposed to do it. So let me get the track IR. I'll just leave track IR on. That's fine. Alright, so the hold short point. We change frequency to tower if we need to. Landing lights can come on at this point, so that's one down for each of them, one down for that guy. Runway turnoff lights can go on, and high intensity lights go on as well. You need to arm the auto flight here. Now it's my understanding that you can also arm the profile switch here, so I'm going to try that and let's see how that works out. So profile is armed as well, and that's a good thing because that's going to make life easier for us. Can you arm the FMS speed here? Because if you can, then we're in business. That doesn't do anything. Alright, the EAD, that's this guy here, you want to verify that this box is green. If I put the parking brake on, that box is no longer green, see? And then you get the master caution, which I find that interesting because they tell you to put the parking brake on for your takeoff procedure. But I just hold the brake so the box stays green. Alright, so now we position and hold. So let's start rolling her up here. Get a little thrust just to get it going. Double check that approach path, make sure nobody's coming. I don't see anybody. I don't think there's any actual live traffic right now, so alright, and once she gets moving, she'll usually keep moving unless you're going up a pretty steep hill. It pretty much keeps moving. So alright, get up around the corner here, line her up, and then we'll do our ready. Now you want to come to a stop. You could roll right into your takeoff, but this is a big airplane and it is very complex. It is more complex in many ways, more complex to fly than say a 777 or something like that. Now 777 is ultimately a more complex airplane with its electronics and so on, but when it comes to the piloting of the airplane, this one is definitely very complex. So you want to make sure that you're ready to go before you start running out on the runway, right? Scapper, is that Scapper or Scaper? Yo, what up? Welcome to the stream. You got here just in time. We're about to take off and see if I can do it without making a mess of things. No promises, by the way. Alright, we'll just get her lined up. It's a long runway. It's like 12,000 feet long, so we got plenty of runway to work with. I love the lighting. I think the lighting is fantastic. Alright, bring her to a nice easy stop and ready for takeoff. So we're not going to set the parking brake. Thrust levers are going to go forward. As they do, takeoff clamp is going to change to takeoff thrust. When it does, we'll release the parking brake, and then after, I believe it's after 80 knots, it should go back to takeoff clamp. And then from there, it's just a normal takeoff and all the good stuff that comes with that, right? So we ready to go? I'm ready to go. Let's do it. So start bringing the throttles up until you see takeoff thrust. Still waiting on it. Okay. Should have popped in already. It did, but it never. I never saw takeoff thrust. See, I pulled the throttles back. Right?
Caution on taxiway.
Okay,
on taxiway.
so clearly the XRAS is still not working, so I'm going to need to just disable that altogether. It was telling me that earlier. Alright, there's 100 knots there. Oh, we're looking good. There's V1. And rotate. Up, up, and away. Come on, baby. That's looking good. Positive rate of climb. Gear coming up. Nice. Following the flight director. Sort of. It does tend to bounce around a little bit on this airplane. So, just giving her a little forward yoke pressure there because she really likes to climb. I mean, it really... You see where that flight director's at? It will climb, but it'll lose speed as it does it, right? Come on. Oh, there she goes. See how it just dives over to the side all of a sudden? I really don't like that. Alright, get into the turn there. There we go. I just don't want the speed to bleed off too fast. You know what I mean? That's the main thing for me. Alright, we're looking good though. We're looking good. A little more over here. That wind's kind of pushing us to the left a bit. Not bad though. We got the gear up. Okay. Now, we are on FMS speed as far as I can tell. So I should be able to go to autopilot. But first, I want to get that speed up. There we go. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and go to auto flight here. Let the aircraft take control. It's looking good. Now if you look on there, you can see that says flaps 35. We could technically bring our flaps up. I'm just getting a little more speed in there. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring the flaps up. So you see here, it shows flaps going to 0. That's what the up arrow means. And then now we're just on the slats, and that SR, that's slats retract. We're above that now, so we can go ahead and retract the slats. And I did turn the sounds down a little bit. Somebody had said that the wind and stuff was a little loud. Unfortunately, I had to use the master volume for the sim, and so as a result, the call-outs and stuff are a little bit quiet as well. So, all right, so we're going up to 6,000 feet here. Coming up nice. Now 6,000 feet is transition altitude here, and I know for a fact I forgot to set that in the FMS. So if you come down here and you go to your performance page, see transition, we're going to change that to 6,000. There we go. And then when we let's just put this on the flight plan page, we'll put this one on the performance page now, and then we'll come up here, and so we're at 6,000 feet or just shy of it, so we can go to standard. So that's the little down arrow. And then remember, you got 2 of them there, so you got to do both of them. Otherwise, as far as the aircraft is concerned, you haven't done it yet, which is still kind of weird. I'm not really sure why they have both of those. I understand what this one is for. It's supposed to give you a better visual representation, but I don't know. One thing I want to point out, I saw this on my last flight as well. Notice this exhaust gas temperature, 925, 926. So we could have done a lower or is it a lower or higher flex temperature? I think a lower flex temperature, so that the engines didn't run up quite as high. We had enough runway to do it, but I didn't calculate it, so that's why I just went with takeoff 1. But my point is this: what happened was the exhaust gas temperature got really close to the max, right? And so it shows that 926 on there. When that happens, when it gets close or goes over the max, then it pins that on there. Now you can clear that off by jumping up top here and go to Engine Max Pointer Reset. That's what that says there. Click on that, and then you come back down here and you see that it's gone. So the idea, of course, is not to get to that point, but it's going to happen sometimes, right? So we're going to be cruising at 6,000 for a little while. Now it is on the profile. You can see all of these are at 6,000. And then we said our cruise flight was 370, right? I'm going to double check that. Yeah, 370 is our cruise flight. So I know normally you wait for ATC, but I'm just going to go ahead and put this up to 370 because it's going to fly on profile anyway. That's way too high. There you go, 370. So we're on profile. So if you look here, I'll go on to, it's a little easier to see over here. You can see it's holding at 6,000 even though we've set 37,000. And so it's going to fly the profile according to what's on here. So once we get past the ET, it'll start to climb. It's assuming 26,000 at DVR. 337 at Conan, and so on. You guys get the point, right? Alright, so that takes care of that. Let's take a look at our... well, that was not the right button. Let's take a look at our climb checklist. So we're not going to set the vertical speed manually. We're going to let the profile do its thing. Landing and taxi lights, those will go off once we're above 10,000 feet. We can disarm the spoiler at this point. So once again, find the little hand, click and hold, and go straight down. Auto brakes can come off as well. And anti-ice, let's see, we're at 19 degrees. We don't need that. Altimeter is good. We went ahead and set it to standard since we're at transition altitude. And then landing lights and all that will come off once we're above 10,000, and then that's it until we get up to cruise altitude. So we just jump over to this view here and keep an eye on things. Let's take a look at the chat here. So Scapper says either one, okay. He love rotates MD-11. It is a nice airplane. It really is a really cool airplane. I like it a lot. I cannot wait until TFDI releases their MD-11 for Microsoft Flight Simulator. That thing's going to be awesome. I'm super excited about that. You get to fly a level D sim. Whew, lucky you. Wish I could get in a level D sim. I can't get into anything. All I can do is get on my computer. Oh, because the taxiway line on the runway. You know, I get that, Scapper, with the RAS, but earlier I did a flight for a video in this airplane, and it did the same thing to me, but it also did it when I was on short final. It said on taxiway, on short final. So I think there's actually something wrong. I think it's still not properly updated for X-Plane 12. So I went in here. I think maybe I'll just turn the audio volume all the way to 0 for the moment. Save. You have to save it. If you don't, it won't stick. So that's what I'm going to do for now. I don't want to dig through all these settings. There maybe is a setting in here that I can do something so it won't do that anymore, but I'll just turn the volume down for now and hopefully it won't happen again. Flying with Mike is here, late to the party. That's alright. It's going to be a video too, so you can go back and watch the amazing takeoff that I did in perfect weather conditions where the wind was right down the runway. It was the greatest takeoff in the history of MD-11 flight on a flight sim. Just ask anybody in the chat and they'll tell you. Flying with Mike is a member of the channel. He's been a member for quite a while. He also has his own YouTube channel. Look him up on YouTube. He does some great videos on there, very detailed. And he's got a really good video on how to plan or how to create a flight plan through Sim Toolkit Pro. So take a look at that if you guys are interested. It's a great channel. Hop on over there and hit the subscribe button for Flying with Mike. Now, I said it at the start of the video. I'm going to say it again because we got some folks in here, a couple that I haven't seen before. You notice the For Joe bar down there in the bottom right part of the screen. Joe is a good friend of mine. He's the COO, Chief Operations Officer for Mac Air, which is the virtual airline that I am the CEO of. And Joe is a fantastic person. There's several guys on here that know him. HondaJet knows him. Pat knows him. I don't know if Ian knows him or not. But and I know Flying with Mike knows him. He's a fantastic person, and he was hit by Hurricane Ian. He's in the Fort Myers area, and you know, he's out there trying to help people out. He's on his days off. He's volunteering with a group called Team Rubicon to help people who were affected by the hurricane and so on. He's a great guy, and I am trying to build him a new computer. That's what I'm working on here. So. That's what those donations are for. They aren't for me. They aren't a toot Captain Max horn button either. I'm not looking for any kind of kudos or anything like that. My goal here is strictly to help Joe build a new computer. I looked up the parts. I found everything I could on sale, the best prices possible to build him a good flight sim machine, and I got it to $1,800. And so that's what I'm trying to get is $1,800. Now we are about $100 more than what you see on this right here. Which was donated through a different link. So if you haven't donated and you would like to, please see the link down below in the video or live stream description. You click on it there and that'll take you right to the page to donate. If you have already donated, thank you so much. I'm very grateful for that, and I know that Joe is as well. And if you can't or don't want to donate, that's fine too. Nobody's going to hold a grudge against you for it. So I am trying to figure out why my up here. Ah, look at that. Flying with Mike donated. Check you out. Through a super chat too. That's awesome. I love those super chats. And just so you know, for anybody that isn't aware, the super chats and all of my what do you call it, ad revenue from YouTube for the next 2 payments that I get is gonna also go towards Joe's computer. I average about 130 bucks every 3 months or so. I think I'll get a little more this time around, but the next 2 payments I get for ad revenue are also going to go to Joe's new computer. So that includes that super chat that Flying with Mike just did, and so thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it, my friend. Now, I was saying real quick, I don't know what's going on. It doesn't show an ETA up here, and I don't know why. We already know the aircraft is wrong, but it should be showing an ETA, so I'm going to check here. Yeah, so it's showing, everything looks good on here, except for the aircraft that I can't change. So I don't know why it's not showing up here. It should be right there, but it's not, so I apologize for that, but that thing's already having issues. So you can see we've gotten past that restriction, and so we're climbing again. We're still at 245, pushing to 250 knots until we get above 10,000 feet. And you can see on the nav display here as well, you can see 250 knots, 10,000 feet. So once we get above 10,000 feet, then I'm just trying to get that view reset properly here. Once we get above 10,000 feet, then it'll start to speed up, which is right now. We can go ahead and get the landing lights off as well. Turn those off, those off, those off. I could have turned these off already. We didn't really need them. We don't even really need the logo lights either, but check it out. Ian Boy's throwing something. Now, was that a super chat or what was that down there? Because that didn't pop up. There should have been a notification for that. But I thank you for that very much, sir. I really appreciate it. And just so you guys know, those didn't show up on here because this is specific to that link, but that's all right because those are still going to go towards that new computer for Joe. They're going to just come in the next YouTube payment I get. Oh, there it is right there. It just popped up. He donated through Super Chat. Fantastic. Thank you very much. I appreciate that from both of you. I really do. And I know Joe does too. Anybody who knows Joe knows he's a very humble guy, and he's very, very appreciative when people do anything for him because he's always doing for everybody else. That's one of the things that I love about Joe so much. He's always doing stuff for other people, you know, and you know, so I just want to do something back for him, you know. And then any money I get beyond that, just so that you guys are aware, you know, every penny beyond that $1,800 is just going to go to disaster relief for the hurricane for anybody who needs it. So, oh, there's the ETAs up there now. I was really hoping to get more traction on this this donation drive, you know. I hate asking for money, but this isn't for me. So, you know, hopefully some more folks will start to see it. You know, if you're watching this as a video, you can still donate. Just use the link down below, and it works just the same. And it will actually update this for the next time I do a live stream. So if you donate through one of the videos, it'll show up on here. And then just so that you guys know, if you do a donation through this link when it's not live, so like when you're watching this as a video, I can actually replay those. So here's the one that Ian just did, and so I can replay that. So if I see that you give a donation, it shows up on my Streamlabs stuff here. So if I see that you gave a donation when we weren't live, I'll be sure that folks are able to see that when they hop on here. So thank you very much to Flying with Mike and Ian for pitching in towards Joe's computer. I really do appreciate it very much. Did they release Beta 8? Is this you know what? Honda Jet would know best. I think this is Beta 8 though. Yeah, it is. It is Beta 8. I have not had any problems with the MD-11 except when I first loaded in for the flight, I get 2 warnings, one related to X camera and one related to something with the MD-11 with the data ref, which something is wrong in there because it hasn't been updated yet. But it didn't cause any problems in my flight earlier. No problems at all. So all should be well in this flight as well. And that's some bumpy weather out there, isn't it? You guys want inside view or outside view? Oh, wait a minute, because there's like a 20-second delay between what's actually happening on the sim and what's happening on the stream. So you guys let me know if you want to see, if you want to cruise outside for a little while or just stay inside. I'm good with either. up just a tiny bit. This is where I changed this master volume. Just a little louder. It was sounding a little bit quiet for an MD-11. I mean, this is an old beast, right? Oh, you heard there's a new release for better pushback, huh? I'll have to look at that. I've been trying to keep up with that. It does not, at least the version I have right now, does not work with the Zibo 737. I'm not really sure why. You know what I've been having a problem with for X-Plane 12 is playing back, replaying flights as a video, right? So that's how I normally get my takeoff and landing cinematics for my videos. You save it as a replay, and then it'll just replay the whole flight, and then you can just, you know, shift the cameras around and you're good to go. But I can't seem to get that function to work. Every time I try to load or replay, the sim just crashes. And I looked at the log, and the log says, I think it's related to those same two things I mentioned a minute ago between X camera and the MD-11, something to do with the data ref. I think that's what's causing it, because the log said something about a plug-in causing it to crash, but then it references the Rotate MD-11, so it's something to do with that, I think. Nobody said whether or not they want to fly inside or outside, so we're just going to hop outside. This is kind of a cool X-Plane view. When you click on it, it just does this real slow flyby. It's a little loud outside, though. What an awesome airplane, though, right? How beautiful is this airplane? It's so sad that they're almost all out of circulation. I think there's only a couple left to land. Absolutely love this thing. Boy, it is some turbulent air, isn't it? She's just kind of bouncing around. Look at that. Alright, back in the airplane. So how's everybody doing? We got 13 folks on here. Let's have a conversation about something. You guys got questions, comments, concerns, moans, groans, complaints, anything like that? While I'm waiting to hear from you guys, I want to mention something that I keep meaning to mention. Some of you may have noticed a little while back, I had a couple of flights, 2 or 3 flights that were called the Mystery Contest Series. And I know most folks don't watch all the intros and stuff like that. You kind of like to skip ahead to, you know, the takeoff and the landing and stuff. And I get that. That's totally cool. I totally understand. But in the intros to those, I talked about what this mystery contest was, and the contest was anybody who could guess the purpose of that series, like what, or maybe the motivation behind it is a better way to put it, what that series was representing, then they would win a copy of the PMDG 737. Well, there has been a winner, and I don't have his name in front of me right now. I'll have to go look it up, because I'm going to do a new fresh captain's brief here in the next few days. And I'm going to include it in there, and then I've already asked him, and I'll remind him to just respond to a comment on that video or something to let y'all know that he did in fact get what was promised, because I know there's some hesitation out there, because there have been flight simmers, YouTube flight simmers over the years that have done some pretty shady stuff, and so I'm not one of them. So I want to make sure everybody knows that, you know, he did in fact get it. I don't get a lot of opportunities to do contests and stuff like that, to do giveaways, because I don't really have the money for it. But I did manage to save enough money for a PMDG 737, and somebody was able to guess the purpose of the series of flights correctly, and they followed all the rules to do so. And I was very happy to provide him with a PMDG 737, and I know he was happy to have it too. So that was fantastic. And when I get to the next captain's brief, I will make sure to note who it was and that was part of the agreement, was that you had to be willing to have your name announced. He said he's got no problem with that, so that's fantastic. And yeah, so if you were aware that that series had been taking place, now probably eventually finished doing the flights, because it's a lot of good flights on there, but you got so many different things going on at once, it's crazy. So so I kind of held off on the flight since we already had a winner of that. But just so that people are aware, that I want people to know that if I say to you, listen, if you do this or do that or whatever, if I'm going to do a giveaway, you know, I stay true to my word, right? And that's important to me, that people know. Cabin pressure relief, what is that? Oh, what have we here? Okay, interesting. Okay, I've got the flight crew operations manual here. Alerts. So this should be a level 1, right? I just got to find it. Anti-ice. This is in alphabetical order. So let me find this real quick. Let me show you what I'm doing here. This is the old PMDG manual, or the one that PMDG released. So cabin pressure. There we go. Cabin pressure. So let me put this back over here. Oh, it went away, but I want to see what it is now. So cabin pressure manual, cabin air off. Oh, come on, really? That's not even on here? Cabin pressure relief. Okay. So, consequences, maintain DP 9.1 PSI. I don't know what that means. Use manual system only if required. Cabin differential pressure has exceeded 8.76 PSI and pressure relief valve is open. That's what that notification meant. So it had something to do with the pressure change. But it looks like it rectified itself. So you can see over here the cabin rate is at 0, and it's usually around -10. So the cabin altitude is 5980. So the difference between our actual altitude and the cabin pressure was greater than 8.76 pounds per square inch, and so the pressure relief was automatically opened. That's what that was. So good to know. All right. Yeah, I after the issue with the autopilot on the last flight, I decided that I didn't want to run into a similar issue and have no idea what to do about it. So I did some scouring, and I managed to find the old PMDG manual for their old MD-11. But an MD-11 done proper is an MD-11 done proper, right? I have FCOM from like KLM, I think. It's like their old real-world FCOM, which I've been going through to learn more and more about this airplane. I really, really like this airplane. I know some of you feel the same way. There's just something about the MD-11. I love the way it looks. I really like the way it flies. I like that it's a challenge. I like that it's so different than everything else. I like the cross between some of the systems we're familiar with in Boeing versus some of the systems we're familiar with in Airbus, and then stuff that's all its own. I really, really enjoy that about this airplane. I enjoy that it's, you know, it's glass cockpit, but sort of, it's still old school, right? It's just something about the MD-11. It's really cool. Getting cold in Philly and you're not too happy. Ian, I'm here to tell you, man, it finally cooled off here. It was in the low 50s today, and I was a happy camper. I get hot really, really easy. So I was super stoked that it finally cooled off. This isn't something I tell a lot of people, but I'll just tell you so you understand why. Way back in 2006, I got blown up in Iraq while I was still in the Marine Corps, and I got burned pretty bad. By God's grace, I don't have really bad scarring or anything, but on my left arm especially, I had some really, really deep bad burns. And so the result of that is that my body doesn't regulate temperature very well. But for whatever reason, my body has decided that in not regulating temperature, what it's going to do is it's going to let me get hot really, really easy. So it can be like 30 degrees outside, and if I'm walking around at all, I got to be in like a t-shirt or I'm sweating. It's crazy. So I'm sitting in this little tiny office right now, and of course the computer's pumping out heat, and I'm hot in here, and it's hot. Flying with Mike says it's been cold out there, but it's gonna warm up it's gonna warm back up here too, unfortunately. I really need it to just cool off. I'd love to have some snow. We had an ice storm out here. I think almost everybody on the East Coast just about had an ice storm last year, which was so much fun for me because I grew up in the mountains in Colorado, and I mean way up in the mountains, right? So I learned to drive on four-wheel drive roads and in the snow. And so I'm driving around, and I mean, it's ice everywhere. It's slick as snot. And I'm driving around in my pickup truck, which has four-wheel drive just in case. And I'm slipping and sliding everywhere, but there's like nobody on the road because they are absolutely terrified to drive at all. And I'm like, sweet. So I'm like sliding it down the road, having a good old time on my way to work. It was fantastic. I loved it. I hope we get that again this year. You're welcome, Ian. Thank you for that support. I appreciate that very much. You know, my friend Joe, the one that I'm doing the fundraiser for, he was a Marine as well. I don't know all of his service stuff. We've talked about it quite a bit. I don't really talk about it a whole lot. I'm not trying to, you know, get a bunch of people to feel sorry for me or something. That's just not my style. But I mentioned it because of, you know, how my body regulates temperature. It's actually really weird because there are times when it can be like super, super cold, and I'm boiling. I'm feeling really hot. It's crazy. So that's why though. All right, let's take a look here real quick just at our cruise. It's a very, very short checklist. It's just maintaining radio comms. I do want to mention with the idea of radio comms really quick. People ask all the time if I'm going to fly on VATSIM, and I've given my primary reason why I don't. There is another reason that I'm not a big fan of flying on VATSIM, and that is because, actually two other reasons. So number one is, there's never a controller where I want to fly, right? So, like right now, you know, when it was actually HondaJet who suggested this flight, and I thought, man, that sounds like a lot of fun. Now, I don't know if there's any controllers at Heathrow or at Innsbruck right now. There might be, but when I was trying to fly on VATSIM, this is before I started making videos, even after I started making videos, I did fly on VATSIM, I just didn't do it on my videos, and I've explained why. But I could never seem to find a place where there was a controller, and on the rare occasion I did. Okay, and this is, I'm not trying to badmouth anybody. It's just a frustration. On the rare occasion I did, I would end up with a controller that I just couldn't understand. Now, obviously, I have some hearing issues. I was a bomb tech in the military, so you know I'm going to have some hearing issues. So that's certainly part of it, but also there's a language barrier. Yes, they're speaking English, but sometimes it can be a little difficult to understand, even though somebody's speaking the same language as you, right? Jack Matrix just subscribed to the channel. Thank you very much, sir. I really appreciate it. Welcome aboard. I hope that you're enjoying what you're seeing so far and listening to me ramble on about nothing really important. Anyway, so I just had a really hard time understanding them, so then I would have to do ATC via text message. So I'd have to, you know, type out on my keyboard the messages and stuff, which is fine. I mean, it's an option, but sort of takes away the immersion, right? And so that's just another couple of reasons why I don't really fly on VATSIM very much. And again, I'm not bad mouthing anybody, you know. I'm just saying it's a frustration, and I don't like the fact that YouTubers have had, you know, copyright claims put against their channels for using VATSIM. I don't understand that. I don't know that it's happened in a while. Probably hasn't, thankfully, nor should it, in my opinion, ever happen at all. But so there it is again, in case anybody's wondering, because I do get asked that question quite a bit. HondaJet, I'm glad I lived through it too. You know, God was watching over me. I could tell you some stories about it. I'll tell you what. You know, the sad thing is there were two guys in the vehicle with me that didn't, and so, you know, that's what I always remember most, is those two guys. So we'll just leave it at that. I don't want to talk about that anymore. So what else we got going on, guys? We just had a new subscriber. Say hi down in the chat. He hasn't said hi yet. Jack Matrix, say hi down in the chat. You gotta say hi. If you don't say hi, then we can't talk to you. We can talk about you. We're not gonna do that. Don't worry. Well, I'm not anyway. Somebody else might. I can't say anything for them. For those of you who don't know, you notice HondaJet calls me Gunny there. That's actually, so I was a gunnery sergeant in the Marine Corps. I was in the Marine Corps for 14 years. And I would have stayed in, but I'll give it to you straight. I just got tired of the nonsense. So I was stationed in Yuma. There's Jack. Hi, Jack. Thanks for joining us, buddy. Appreciate it. I was stationed in Yuma. I was an EOD tech, and I was a gunnery sergeant, and I put in to become a warrant officer, because all the in the Marine Corps, all of the officers in EOD come from the ranks. They're all warrant officers, and then they become what's called an LDO, limited duty officer. And so I thought, you know, that's the route I want to take. I've been in 14 years, clearly making a career of this. That's what I want to do. So at this point in time, I've been in just a little over 13 years. I had 8.5 years time overseas. So out of 13 years and change at that point, I had been overseas 8.5 years. So I put in to be a warrant officer, and I wanted to stay in Yuma. There are 2 different units there. And one of them is a deployable unit, one of them is not. I was at the non-deployable unit. I wanted to go to the deployable unit and take over as their OIC because they didn't have one. So when I got accepted to the warrant officer program, I called the assignments officer and I told him, I said, I would like to stay here and take over this other team. And he said I couldn't. He said, you can't do that because of fraternization. Because I was a staff NCO and they had staff NCOs. We were in the same office. And they knew that, of course. And so they were worried that I would, you know, be too buddy-buddy with the staff NCOs over there as their officer in charge. That's basically what they were saying, right? And so I was like, okay. I didn't agree with it, but I was like, okay, so where am I going? And he said, you're going to go to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. I said, okay. So I called up Camp Lejeune to find out what was going on. Now, mind you, to become a warrant officer, you have to go to what's called TBS, the basic school site. I think it's like 4.5 months long. It's in, pretty sure it's in Quantico, Virginia. So it's 4.5 months long. So you go there to you know, get basically retrained to be an officer instead of an enlisted guy, basically. I don't know what all they teach there because I didn't go to the school. But anyway, after that 4.5 months, then you go and you check into your new duty station. You're now an officer, right? Ominous Dominus. Now people have to salute you. So that was the plan. I was going to go there, and then I was going to go to Camp Lejeune. So I called over to Camp Lejeune. They knew I was supposed to be coming there, and so I asked them. I said, "Okay, so what's the plan when I come out there?" And they said, "Okay, so 2 weeks after you get here, we've got you slated to go to Afghanistan for a year." I was like, "Are you kidding me?" So 4.5 months in TBS, 2-week break, and then I'm gone for a year. My wife was pregnant at the time, mind you. And I said to him, I said, "Listen," I said, I don't have a problem deploying, but you know, my wife's pregnant. I've got a lot of time overseas. You know, is there any way I could maybe get on a different rotation? Nope, that's where you're going. Well, I probably would have stuck with it, except there was a guy on the other team in Yuma. You remember, there's 2 teams there. I wanted to take over the other team as the OIC. There was another guy over there who was a gunny. I think he'd just been promoted to master sergeant, and he got selected for warrant officer on the same board that I did. And they made him the OIC for that team. So apparently there's no fraternization issue for the guy that's already on that team, just for the guy that's not. Well, it turns out that him and the guy doing the assignments were buddies. He was hooking him up. Now that guy had been in for a little over 12 years, and he'd been deployed 1 time in 12 years. I had 8.5 years time overseas. This guy had been gone once for like 7 months. And they were about to send me 4.5 months to TBS and then a year to Afghanistan. I was livid. I was through the roof livid. I called the assignments officer back up and I said, "You got to be kidding me. Do you think I'm stupid? You're trying to hook up your buddy and you're going to send me away from my family so you can hook him up." Right? So I just told him, I said, "You know what?" I said, "I'm done. That's it. I'm not going to accept warrant officer." I had to write a resignation letter to resign the position, or to turn it down, or whatever it was. And then I got out like 3 months after that, and that was it. I got a boot in the backside and a "see you later." They didn't even give me a plaque. 14 years in the Marine Corps, I didn't even get a plaque. They were like, "Bye, see ya." They were actually really mad. It was crazy. They were really angry for a little while, saying that I was ungrateful after all that the Marine Corps had done for me and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, "You're kidding, right? I mean, what has the Marine Corps actually done for me? I've given for almost 14 years now. What have you given to me?" The one time I asked for anything, and it got denied so that somebody could hook up their buddy, I was like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. So that's why I got out of the Marine Corps as a gunny. Long story, good times, right? just like the big companies. Yeah, playing fair it's just a real shame. It really was, because I really enjoyed being in the Marine Corps. I mean, when I first got in, I was a turd. I was a terrible Marine for like the first 5 years I was in. I was terrible. I had a really bad attitude. You know, I was basically a bratty kid. You know, who thought that, you know, somebody owed me something. But by the time, you know, I put in to be a warrant officer, I'd matured a lot, obviously. You know, I'd been in for, you know, almost 14 years at that point, and I'd matured a lot, and, you know, I was a different person at that point. But, yeah, just, I was done. Enough was enough, so. Anyway, so Jack's on the channel now. You still with us, Jack, or did you get bored with my story and leave? I get bored with my own stories too, don't worry. So what else is going on, guys? Somebody talk. Bring up a story. Bring up a question. Something. Otherwise, we're going to get bored. We're all going to be staring at nothing. Read a book or something. Here's a funny one for you. Day before yesterday, I shaved my entire face for the first time in 10 years. My kids were livid. They all hate it. Every one of them hates it. The older ones and the younger ones. Honda's off to dinner. Have a good time, buddy. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate having you on here. And thanks for the help earlier with getting that scenery issue squared away. I appreciate that very much. Yeah, so when I shaved my face for the first time in 10 years, my 11-year-old son basically said, why would he do that? Now we have to be seen in public with him. I didn't know I was that ugly. My 10-year-old daughter said I looked ugly. She said I looked hideous. My 22-year-old daughter wouldn't even look at me, like literally for like 5 minutes. She wouldn't even look at me. My 17-year-old daughter said that I looked like a cancer patient. And my wife looked at me and she said, oh, that's different. Yeah, different. It looks okay. Yeah, it looks good. It's different. So I'll be growing back my facial hair and leaving it there permanently. Pat's flying Mirage's destination a month while watching YouTube. Good times, right? Nothing like watching Captain Mac or listening to Captain Mac bump his gums for like 2 hours while you do something else, right? I've had some people tell me they'll put my videos on in the background and just listen to me droll on for, you know, 45 minutes or whatever is background noise. I don't know. That's pretty funny. But good times. You know, for those of you who don't know, I know we got a few guys in here who maybe don't know, Mirage is our partner virtual airline. So you've got Millennium Aviation Company, or Mac Air, which is the airline that I'm the CEO of. Mirage Executive Charters, that is the virtual airline that HondaJet is the CEO of, and we're partner airlines. So we just do just about everything together. A lot of our staff is on the staff over there. We do a lot of flights together, and Mirage has a great little program over there. What they're doing is a pretty good time. So, and then of course, for those of you who don't know, over at Mac Air, you know, we've got 5 different divisions over there. We've got the Open Division, Cargo Division, Historical Division, Charter Division, and the Pro Division. So we're doing something different than everybody else has. We are in the process of getting things updated on our website. I know when you look at it, it's like, oh man, this is old. It is. It's about 6 years old now. But we are actually updating. We've recently switched providers. We had some problems with our previous provider, so we switched providers, and with that we're actually updating the whole image. So I don't know if you guys noticed when Jack Matrix subscribed to the channel down there, the notification that popped up, that's actually our new logo for Mac Air. That red hexagon with the M in it says M and then aviation underneath. That's the new Mac Air logo. And then we've actually got some custom aircraft liveries that we're going to be doing here pretty soon. We had one of our staff members, his wife is an absolute wizard with what do you call it? Not paint shop, but is it paint shop? No, Photoshop. With Photoshop, and man, she did some beautiful work. So now we just got to figure out how to put it on the airplane so that folks can download those. And as soon as we figure that out, I can promise you, you'll be seeing them here on the channel. they're going to look absolutely stunning, these liveries we got coming out. So, and then we're going to see a whole change to the website as well. So everything that you can do now, you're still going to be able to do, but we're going to update and refresh and freshen up the website. Just bring things a little more up to date. Not that things are out of date per se, but you know, it's just a little bit older, and so we just want to update things, kind of update the image of the airline a little bit and stuff like that. So, you know, you guys keep your eyes peeled for that. It's going to be, it's still, you know, still a few months of work to go yet. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's going to take some time. It's not something that we need to rush or that we're interested in rushing anyway. But I think you guys are going to love what you see as it starts to come down the pipe. So the Zibo 737 is on the list, as a matter of fact. So the first two aircraft on the list are the PMDG and the Zibo 737s. The issue we've run into right now is it's actually a lot harder to do repaints now. It used to be easier. I used to do my own repaints years ago. I did my own repaints, but it's a different process now. And like, some are really easy. Some you can do in Blender. Like especially default airplanes, I think you can do in Blender. But like the PMDG 737, I can't do that in Blender. And so you've either got to have Photoshop, which I don't have, or you got to use like GIMP, which is kind of like Photoshop, but it's free. Or you can use, I've got, I think, Paint Shop Pro. Yeah, Coral Paint Shop Pro, I think is what it's called. But the file types are not compatible with it. So like GIMP automatically opens them, and I guess Photoshop can automatically open them, but Paint Shop can't. So GIMP is free, but it's not exactly super easy to use. And that's not even really, the bigger issue is time, because I could figure it out if I had time to figure it out, right? But I don't really have time to figure it out. So, my friend's wife, the one who came up with the liveries with the new design, and I'm telling you, it's beautiful. If you go over to our website, you'll see a couple of pictures on there of they're just square pictures. They're just flat images, but they give you an idea what those liveries are going to look like. And she was going to do them, but it's the same thing with her. It's an issue of time, and it's a learning curve. It's not something she's done before. And because the process is different now, I'm not all that familiar with it either. So what that boils down to is it's going to take some time to get past that learning curve before we can do that. So we may end up having to do something like go with an easier aircraft first. But once we get it figured out, you'll see them come out. I'd love to do an MD-11, this rotated MD-11 in the new... Pat knows what the new livery looks like. I know he's seen it. So, Pat, could you imagine that livery on this MD-11? I mean, let's just hop outside. Imagine that with our new livery on it. That would look absolutely amazing. It really would. But you're right, GIMP is not a very user-friendly program, and neither is Blender. Now, for people who are very familiar with that type of program, with the Blender program, and 3D modeling and 3D animation and stuff, it's not so bad. The learning curve's not so steep, but I've been trying to learn some stuff in Blender, and I'm here to tell you, it's not easy. There's nothing about it, in my opinion, that is intuitive, right? So you think you would do this or that to make something happen. That's not what you do. It's not even close to what you do. And there's probably, if I had to guess just off the top of my head, in Blender there are probably I would say close to 2,000 or 3,000 different settings you can adjust on something in there. I mean, literally, like, it's not just the 3D modeling or just the animation, but there's a whole like tree thing you got to set up to get the rendering to work right, and within that tree thing there's thousands of options. I mean, it's crazy. It's very, very, very in depth, and there are a lot of people who use it professionally. They use Blender. It's that good, but if you're not familiar with that type of program, it's also that hard. So yeah, it would, wouldn't it, Pat? It would be absolutely gorgeous. I think with the issues I've had trying to figure out how to do it with the 737s, maybe I'll take a glance at our rotate MD-11 here and see if I can figure out how to do it on that. That would be just something else, wouldn't it? It would be something else. Anyway, so yeah, that's some of the stuff coming down the pipe there. So anybody, if you're on here and you're not a member of Mac Air, you ought to check it out, macairvirtual.com. It really is a fantastic virtual airline. We got some great folks over there on staff, and we got some great folks over there, you know, as our pilots as well. I love that airline. I mean, the whole purpose in starting up Mac Air was to get a, you know, for years I'd flown different virtual airlines, and some of them were really good. When I started my YouTube channel, it was with Phoenix Virtual Airways. I don't even know if they're still around. They might be. When I started my YouTube channel, it was through Phoenix Virtual Airlines, and they were a good airline, and I had some great friends over there. I still got a guy. I haven't talked to him in a while. I heard from him a while ago and responded, but he didn't reply back, so I'm sure he's busy. But my friend Stuart over there with PVA, I still talk to him occasionally. He's over in the UK. Great guys, some great folks over there. And I had, you know, I didn't have any problem with PVA, but there were other virtual airlines I had some real issues with, and we've all experienced it. And then you had the other side of it too. Like if I wanted to fly, you know, like the old Constellation, and I wanted to do it for a VA, I had to join a VA that had that airplane, right? And then if I, like right now, the MD-11 is really not in circulation, so probably most virtual airlines aren't flying it anymore. Well, you can fly it at Mac Air because it's part of our legacy fleet, right? So when you fly, you know, the historical division, it's in there, and it's still in our cargo division too. We still fly it in there. So you had to have different virtual airlines. You had to, you know, join different virtual airlines in order to fly different things. And of course, the problem with that is they all have their upkeep requirements. You have to fly X number of hours per month or every however often, and it just became a bit of a difficult. It just became difficult, and so eventually, me and a friend decided we were going to start our own virtual airline, which was a huge leap for us. And after a lot of discussion, we decided that the best route forward would be to build the virtual airline or model the virtual airline around a YouTube channel, because that was a platform for advertising, so to speak, right? It was a way to get the word out. So that's what we did, and that's why we went with Millennium Aviation Company, Mac Air. You get it, Captain Mac, for those of you who didn't catch on. I'm just messing with you. But anyway, so that's why we went with Mac Air, and you know, it was good. And we decided that we wanted to have separate divisions, but you could fly any of those divisions from a single profile. That was the idea. And so we started with the open division, the historical division, and the pro division. And now we have two more, the charter division and the cargo division. And you know, my friend, he had to go a different direction after a while, so he's not involved with the airline anymore. But then that's when Joe came in, and Joe stepped in and took over as the chief operations officer, and has done an amazing job. Pat's on staff over there; he does an amazing job. You know, just everybody over there does such a great job. It's such a great community, and I really like it. So, Ian, you can absolutely have a hint as to what it looks like. Just hop on over to the Mac Air homepage, and you'll see it. Is it still on there, Pat? I haven't been on the home page in a couple of days, but we did put it up on the home page. So, all right, we're 85 nautical miles from top of descent, so let's start taking a look at our descent preparations. So as of right now, let me just pull it up here on Sim Toolkit Pro, and we are looking at the wind is variable at 2 knots, so that means that's as of right now. So that means we're still good for our approach into runway 8. We're going to stick with that for now, so we're good there. What else we got to do here? Let's jump down here to the FMS, whatever it's called in here. Let's go to our takeoff approach page. We are going to be doing flaps 50 on this one. We want to get her as slow as we can, so it's going to be 152 on there, and then jump back up here and looking at my chart here. We need to be at or above 13,000 at RTT. So if we go back in here to flight plan, we'll have to scroll it down a little bit. Oh, there's a discontinuity there. I didn't even know that. Let's go to plan real quick and decrease that. So scroll that down. Yeah, so there's Elman, and then what's it got going on here? What is it doing? decrease, and let's jump over to the next one. That's the discontinuity, and then it's got RTT. Oh, I see what's going on because of the direction we're coming in here. It does not like this at all. Check this out. This is going to be interesting. So RTT, and then it's got this great big circle here. I have no idea why, because it should go from RTT to LMIM, but instead it's going from LMIM to RTT, and then from there to ADWIG. So let me find ADWIG on here. So there's RTT. Yeah, okay, I see what the problem is. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Easy solution here. I'm going to enter a hold at RTT. It's going to be right turns inbound at 225. So let's get that set up really quick. Actually, before we do, let's go ahead and just start our descent. Get our descent set up here. And we need to be at 13,000. So it's on profile, so it should profile its way down to 13,000. And that's in 63 nautical miles. Now let's set up this hold really quick. Haven't done it here in a minute, have we? You need to go here, here, hold, and then it's going to be standard hold. Where? At heights. No, that's not what I want. Why did it do that? Oh, because it did it from there. Okay, so let's try it just from RTT. So RTT, yeah, hold. Okay, so the inbound course is 225. 225. Put that on there, and then it's right-hand turns. And 1 mile. 1 mile should be fine. Revert to standard. All that is good. So let's insert that. Now, when you go back here, so you'll see it shows RTT, and then it hold right turn. So let's get rid of this. And let's go back up here. So you see the hold in there. I still don't know what this giant circle is for. That's not making a lot of sense to me. Let's see if somebody said anything in the comments here. Yeah, it's still there. No, yeah, there's no livery there, but the picture of what's going to become the livery is still there, right, Pat? Okay, I'm trying to figure out. So here's the hold, but what is this? So it goes RTT, and then from there to ADWIG, which, that's so weird. Okay, ADWIG is over here. That shouldn't be a problem. I don't know what that is. So ADWIG and then FF2. Oh, I know. I think it's because of this localizer setup. So, wrong way. So let me zoom this in so you guys can see. Alright, so there's RTT, right? And then from there it goes to ADWIG, FF2, 6, and then localizer 17, 14, on down to 63. And then when we're at 4.2, we're going to hang a left. What I'm trying to figure out is, so is this for the missed approach? Oh, it's got its own circle to land thing going on, or that's what it is, I think, for the. That is so weird looking. I don't know why it looks like that. I have had a couple of issues with it not, you know, I think I mentioned it in a video earlier, where it tries to it's all about overflying the waypoint, right? So if there was a turn and another waypoint right here, it'll cross over the waypoint before making the turn, and so it turns late. So that may cause us some issues on this. We're just gonna have to see how that goes. Alright, so we're set up to get down to 13,000 and then hold at RTT, so we're good there. So while that's happening, let's take a look at our arrival and approach briefings here. Super Hornet driver is here. Hello, sir. Great to have you here. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm glad you are here. We are just getting ready to brief our arrival and approach. So, I don't know why it gave us this arrival, to be honest with you. Because we're coming from over here, right? So that's just weird to me, to come from over here to go to RTT when this arrival is set up to come in this way, go to a hold here, and then onto an approach for runway 8 from over there is what it looks like. But either way, we've gone ahead and set up the hold at RTT so that we can use that to transition onto our approach. Now remember, there's two parts to this approach. Alright, part number one is this special localizer DME East, and I think this is part of the reason that it looks so crazy on our nav display right now, because we have to start off this approach on this localizer. So from RTT, this is our racetrack pattern. This is how I set it up. Inbound 225 right-hand turns, right? So when we exit the hold, we'll go left down here to Adwig, and we'll lock onto the localizer, and we're going to follow that localizer down, all the way down until we get to 4.2. Now this waypoint, 4.2, is not on the localizer approach that we picked. Unfortunately, I couldn't, I had to guess, right? But 6.3 is, so we know it's not going to be long after that. So it's 6.3. We should be on this glide slope. 4,400 feet is the elevation for the terrain down here, right? And so that's what this is telling you. When you look at this, this is telling you what altitude you need to. How do I say this? It's not. Is it telling me what altitude I need to be at, or what altitude is the terrain at? That's the question here. It looks to me like it's telling me the altitude I need to be at. Right? So 9,500 here, obviously, and then here at 17 we need to be at 8,700, 7,500, and so on. Let's just double check and see if that's how it's set up inside the FMC real quick, because the FMC will have it set up that way, right? So if I go down here, hold at RTT, Adwig, and then 095, so loc 17, localizer 17 is 087, and that's what it says on here, 8,700 feet. So that is what it's telling us. That's the altitude, which makes more sense. I don't know why I thought it would be giving you the altitude of the terrain. It's just showing you the terrain. That's why you have to be at that altitude. So we're going to fly that down just past the 6.3. Obviously, we need to go to 4.2 to get onto the approach we're going to fly. Once we reach 4.2, that takes us onto this guy. And this is the circle to land approach for runway 8. So you can see here, 4.2 OEV, right? If you go back here, OEV is what? That's this guy right down here, right? OEV, this is 4.2 OEV right here. Unfortunately, we don't have that waypoint in there. Hopefully it made sense the way I explained that. All right. 80 knots. Hi, I own the MD-11F by Rotate. How is it on X-Plane 12? It's fantastic. There are a couple of little glitches here and there, 80 knots. But overall, it's fantastic. I haven't had major issues with an X-Plane 12 at all. So if you got it and you got X-Plane 12, fly it. You should be good. Just make sure you install that Skunkworks updater thing. And anytime you update X-Plane, or anytime I run it, X-Plane 12 after an update, I check that Skunkworks thing. Okay, so once we get to 4.2, we're going to bang a left to 230 degrees out here. And then there's a couple of ways of looking at this. We could say when we are, let me move this over here, when we are parallel, that's not the word, a beam is the word I'm looking for. I don't know, can I set that up? Fix info. So the fix is OEV, right? So let's see if it'll let me put that in. OEV. That's my fix. So a beam, when I'm a beam, the fix is when I want to make that turn to 264 degrees. I haven't done it this way before. So a beam 170. Why does that say 170 a beam? Because I mean that's kind of, look at this. That's about where you're going to be, right? I got to zoom it back in. That's about 170 degrees a beam. So, but I've never flown it like this before. I don't know if you guys have. I've never flown using a waypoint and a beam for a waypoint. So I'm not sure how to set that up. If somebody knows, let me know down in the comments, because otherwise I know I look kind of foolish here right now trying to figure this out, but I mean we can see how far out that is. It's 214 nautical miles. That's great, but that doesn't really help me with getting a beam. We're coming up on our descent point here. I just wanted to check on that. I've just never done that before, so it's completely new to me. You got the Skunk Crafts updater. Yeah, do a flight with it on 12. So just make sure that you have those two files that you're supposed to have for X-Plane 12 for the Skunk Crafts updater. Make sure you have those. I believe it goes in your main X-Plane 12 folder. and then make sure you load like one of the Cessnas or something in before you try to run that Skunkcraft's updater. Otherwise, it can cause you issues. Yeah, I'm not sure the best way to do this, guys. So a beam, 170 degrees of beam. Is that telling me how many miles? I guess that's what it's saying, is how many miles out do you want to be. But the chart doesn't tell me how many miles out that is, does it? Oh my gosh, that drives me nuts. Yeah, like seriously. Okay, something going on the other screen, guys. It doesn't tell me how many miles out, right? So I know that this is 3.5 miles from OEV, so this can't even be quite that far, but I don't have like really any way to scale that, do I? When I've flown this in the past, I've basically just scooted along the base of the mountains here is what I've done. So I guess that's kind of what we're going to have to do here, because this is going to have to be flown either manually or semi-manually. This isn't going to be flown by the autopilot. So, and I don't even know if the church is there. So this is going to be interesting. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, but I'm just trying not to mess it up. So visual approach after 11.2. Let's see what this is, because 11.2 is what we're using. So having established effective external visual reference, and based on the weather that Pat put in the chat for me there, visibility is fine. So between 6.3 and 4.4, between 6.3 OEV, which is, here's OEV, and 4.4 OEJ, and the missed approach point, the flight shall be continued with visual reference either straight into runway 26 or onto a right-hand circuit to runway 8. So I think basically a better way of looking at this, because that makes more sense to me, it's just a right-hand circuit. So we do want to turn it 230 degrees. And then when we get a beam the numbers here, that's an easier way of looking at it. When I'm a beam the numbers, I'm going to turn right to 264, and then I'm going to track in like that. That's a much easier way of looking at it. So that's how we're going to do it. Now the minimums for us on this, a lot going on. We're doing the circle to land with prescribed flight tracks. Minimum decision altitude 1793. The missed approach climb gradient, we can meet that, no problem. But there's several of these. So standard. That's kind of weird. It's saying the same thing though. I don't know why it's. Oh, it's because of the flight visibility. That's what it is. So we should have 5,000, but even that's the same on all of them. Okay, 1,793 feet. That's going to be our. Missed approach altitude, or minimums altitude is what the word I'm looking for. So let me get that in here. 1793. Right? 1793? Yeah, 1793. We're on the descent now, right? Yes, we are. Fantastic. Okay. So let's set our minimums, radio altimeter, to 1793. I don't know if you can see that scrolling up down there, but it is. And it's going to take a minute too. So I do love that I can click and hold. Will that even go to 1793 on the radio altimeter? I've never tried to take it that high before. Flying with Mike, it is by choice. This is intentional. So if the wind is, so for us, the wind is variable, so we could do either, but it's a lot more fun to do the circle to land, and it's a lot more challenging, and since the wind will allow it, we're going to do it. Now if the wind requires you to do that circle to land procedure, the right way to do it is to fly in on that localizer approach until you get to a certain distance, and then you break off and you do that right downwind circuit. So that's what we're doing here. Only 10 viewers to watch this craziness, huh? Will that go up any faster? No. 1793. I got a long ways to go. It's a good thing I can click and hold that thing to scroll it, because otherwise I'd be going nuts scrolling this wheel here. Now I still don't know what's going on with that giant circle there, but we're just going to kind of hope that it doesn't cause us any issues. It went back to 0, didn't it? Yes, it did. No, it's at 871. I thought that was 0. It's really hard to see. The numbers are so small. So let's see if it goes up to 1,000 or if it goes back to 0 here. Yeah, it went to. So we'll go up to 1793. So we're going to be here for a minute scrolling this thing. Yeah, Mike, where's the fun in the straight-in approach, man? Real world, I can tell you probably, I would think most pilots would prefer to just fly that localizer straight in. I mean, why fly a more difficult approach if you don't have to? And that makes sense. Why would you fly a more difficult approach than you need to? But we're going to give it a go because it makes for good entertainment, especially if I mess it all up. See, it's good entertainment either way. If I nail it, then I look awesome. If I don't nail it, then I don't look so awesome, but it still makes for a lot of fun to watch and see how we manage to pull it off, right? We still need to go back to the chart and take a look at the missed approach procedure. If I can ever get this thing to 1793. We'll be there eventually. We're 4 miles from Madib, and it should be starting to turn. So normally when you get to about 1.5 miles, it starts making the turn, right? But this won't do that. You'll see. I'll decrease it here in a second. It'll cross all the way over that waypoint before it starts making the turn. Here, let me just show you. So that's zoomed all the way in. So it will. So normally we'd already be turning, but it's for whatever reason it's not doing that. So it's going to cross the waypoint, and now it's going to start the turn. So that's causing issues. That's causing obvious issues. All right, we're in the 1700s. I want to look at some of this terrain because we're over the mountains now. So. There we go, 1793. That only took 5 minutes. All right, let's look outside real quick. Look at that terrain. That's gonna be fun. I've flown in here a few times. I love flying into Innsbruck. It is a wonderful challenge. But you see what I'm talking about here? So now it's got to turn really far to get back over to the next waypoint, at the risk of missing it. So that's clearly a problem because it wasn't doing that before. I don't know why it started doing that all of a sudden, but it did. So, all right, let me come back to our charts here. What is, I am looking for transition altitude now. It just says by ATC. So, I'm going to set transition altitude to, I don't know, pick a number. Let's just do 18,000, I guess, right? We're already below that, though, aren't we? No, we're not below that yet. So let's go back to performance. And we'll put it back at 18,000 because that's just going to make life easier for us. Don't know what to do about that fix, the beam thing. I think it just has to do with the distance, but honestly, it makes a lot more sense in my head to just fly it as a right-hand circuit. I don't know why I didn't just visualize it that way before. We already did this, right? Flaps 50, we're looking at 152 on the approach, so we're good there. Go back to the flight plan page for now, and we're good on there. So the missed approach procedure, it doesn't really lay one out on here. So I think for missed approach, let's see, I'm just looking at the chart here on the other screen real quick. It doesn't say anything for missed approach at all. There's that flashing again from the lights. It's ridiculous. Yeah, nothing on here for missed approach on either of these charts. Actually, that's not true. So for the localizer, the missed approach is basically to turn back around and go the other way. So I think for us, the missed approach, we'll keep it very simple. And I'll just show this chart to you here. Oh my gosh, that is just the most insane thing to me. Every time I try to grab the chart, it like highlights everything on the screen. It's ridiculous. So for us, the missed approach is going to be very simple. We're going to climb straight ahead, and knowing what our altitude issues are going to be, that's the wrong one, 9,500. So we're going to climb straight ahead. We're going to climb back to 15,000. That's what I'm going to do for missed approach for now, and then we'll just carry on from there, right? So pretty straightforward. I think it's not going to be easy, but I think the idea here is pretty straightforward at this point. So once we cross over that 6.3 from OEV, we're going to basically start making our turn, and we're just going to do a right-hand circuit. Heading turn limit it was set to auto, right? Let me just double check. Yeah, it's on auto right there. So Good looking out though, 80 knots. Not really sure why
Stabilizer motion.
I'm having the issue that I am. So this is all like missed approach for the localizer approach is what this is, which is not even correct for that, actually. That's not the way you fly that missed approach. So we need to add some drag in there. So let's go ahead and get in the... Come on. There we go. Oh, this is going to be fun. Okay, that's fine. We got some drag in there. Let me get the track IR on. Little jump here. There it is. Center that back up. Nice and easy. And I think we might need some more drag than that, huh? So the throttles have just been bouncing all over the place every time I fly this thing. I don't really know why, but that's alright. Okay, so that's good on the... There we go. Alright, so you can see here what's going on, right? So we're coming up here, and if I zoom that out, so there's RTT. Now remember, it's a right-hand turn, so we have to... What's going to have to happen is it's going to cross RTT, and it's going to mess it up, I'm going to tell you right now. But it's got to cross RTT. It's supposed to go 45 degrees and then swing back around. Well, A, we're going to be a little too fast for that because we're going to 13,000 feet. And B, this thing's not going to start to turn until it crosses over RTT. So I still don't... That was a good idea, 80 knots, checking this thing, but it is definitely on auto. So I don't know why it's doing that. That's really weird. I mean, everything else is set right. We're on heading, we're on magnetic. I mean, everything is the way it's supposed to be. So it just doesn't make sense to me. That thing is so touchy because it's got specific settings, right? It's not just gradual. It's you set it in any one of those 3 slots, right? So you've got, what do you got? 1/3, 2/3, and full. But I don't have those slots on my Bravo throttle quadrant, so I just have to kind of guess. And if it's close, it bangs around like that. So we're going to see how this works. We're going to let it go into the hold. I know that adds a little time to the flight. Some of you may not like that. Some of you may think that's awesome. But I think we need to let it go into the hold because we need to get set up, right? Because once we leave that hold and we start down that localizer approach, I mean, it's game on from there. That's all there is to it. So, yeah, should be a good time. So we'll see if OEV even shows up on here. It should. If not, then, you know, maybe... What's our altitude supposed to be at? So that's supposed to be at 3560, but we're supposed to fly this at 3700. So basically, if I'm not getting good altitude readout, or not altitude, distance readout for OEV, and we need to change altimeter too, don't we? I'll get to that in a second. If I'm not getting a good readout for distance from OEV, then I'll use the altitude. Once I hit 3700, I'll just level off, and then we'll start that right-hand circuit. And I completely missed the transition altitude. Now, Pat said, I'm just looking on the other screen here, sort of. There we go. Pat said the altimeter was 1023, and 1023 is what I have on Sim Toolkit Pro as well. So let's get her set to 1023. Wrong way. You gotta go. Oh, that's right. Yeah. 1023. That's way above that. There we go. 1023. And then same thing back here. It wants me to add drag. Oh, remove drag. Way to go, dummy. That makes sense. See how easy you can get distracted? Okay, the drag's gone. I don't know that we need to be flying at 350 knots here. Is there a... What does it say for the hold speed? Hold. It says speed 220. I guess just because we haven't hit the hold yet. So when that speed starts to come down, of course, we're going to need to put some flaps out. So you see what's going to happen here. So it should already be turning to set up for this hold, but it's just not doing it. It's not going to do it until it crosses over RTT, which is a little frustrating. Not sure why it started doing that, but it is what it is. We're just going to have to deal with it for now. That's fine. So all of these waypoints, they have the altitudes in there, so we'll let it fly them. And RTT, it says we can be at 9,500, but the hold, I think it said 13,000, right? Let me just double check that. It says at or above 13,000, but that's if you're coming the other direction. So we're going to go ahead and descend to 95. Is it 95? Yeah, 95. So I'm going to go ahead and descend to 95 while it's setting up this hold. That's going to make our life a little easier here in a minute, right? So let's get this down to 9,500. Come on. Ooh, that sucker just nosed right over, didn't it? You're going to want some drag now, aren't you? Where is it going? You know, I know it. Look at what it's doing. It's supposed to be setting up for a right-hand turn. What on earth is this thing doing? That is not how you enter a hold. Come on. You guys see what's going on here, right? That's not how you enter the hold. That is absolutely the wrong way to enter a hold, and the reason is because it's dangerous to do that. We need some drag. See how fickle it is? Just stay there. We're going to need to go to the next setting anyway.
Altitude.
Okay, so we're going down to 9,500. Let's go ahead and get the landing lights on. We don't need runway turn-off lights. I'm not worried about those. Okay, we've got the speed coming down now. We're trying to get down to 220. You guys know that is absolutely the wrong way. Yeah, I know I can take over the speed flying with Mike. I just wanted to... I'm just trying to see... I want to see how the aircraft controls itself. Like right now, see those mountains there? Now... we're at 9,500, so we're good, we're clear of them, but you're not supposed to turn to the outside of the hold to set up. That's the wrong way to do it, right? And you probably already know that. I'm sure you know that, Mike. We should have turned across the hold and then set up that way, so... that thing is so touchy. It's got to be in just the right spot or it just keeps bouncing. It's really obnoxious. Go ahead and let's extend a little bit of flaps here. And our dial of flap is at 22, I think, right? I'm going to bring that back to 20. There we go. And then we'll get flaps 20 out there as well. That's going to help keep that nose down. Retract speed brake. Oh, we're at 220 now, okay. That is absolutely the worst way that could have entered that hold.
Stabilizer motion.
Alright, so you can see, and sorry, I had track IR off for a second. I flew it, when I flew earlier, when I was at 220 knots with flaps 20, that nose is pointed pretty low, so but it's good because we're not too fast for it, but you don't feel like the airplane's gonna try and, you know, climb on you, or not climb, but stall is actually what I was thinking of. Okay, so I kind of wanted to just let it set up this hold, but you can see, like, look where we're at, right? We're way outside of where this, and I think it's trying to come up here and catch that, but that is not the right way to enter a hold. I'm sure you guys are aware of that. So, Bravo Charlie 24, welcome to the channel, my friend. I am doing fantastic. How about yourself? Oh, you had a great day? Good. I am glad to hear that. You got to fly into a Class C airport with ATC comms. Nice. Oh, real world flight? Dude, that's awesome. Super, super awesome. So thrilled for you. I am currently trying to figure out why my MD-11 is on its own program. I am going to have to take over the speed now. I don't know why it decided to slow down. Get back up there to 220. There we go. So what you missed, Bravo Charlie, is we're trying to enter this hold, and for whatever reason the airplane, instead of entering the hold properly by crossing over here at 45 degrees, it made a right turn out here to enter into a right hold at RTT. No idea why it did that, but we are about to land at Innsbruck in an MD-11, and we're going to fly the circle to land procedure. I have no idea what just happened with the camera there. So I'm only going to let it do one circuit of the hold here, and then I'm going to be ready to exit. But just trying to see it get set up here. I don't know. It's not setting up for the hold very well. Let's just leave it at that. So RTT hold. So it's not even, still not set up, is it? Where's my exit hold? This has got to be the worst entry to a hold I think I've ever seen. Okay, so we're in the hold now.
Stabilizer motion.
The airplane's struggling. Like, look how sharp it's turning.
Stabilizer
Oh my
motion.
goodness, this is a mess and a half. Please tell me it's not trying to go back to RTT right now. Where's the exit hold? Okay, somebody tell me down in the comments, how are you supposed to exit the hold in this thing? I should just be able to click here, go to the hold, and exit hold. But I'm not seeing that option here.
Stabilizer motion.
Let's just hold at RTT. All that's all set up. Oh my goodness. I guess maybe what you have to do is maybe you just clear it out. So that's what I'm going to do. So once it starts making this turn here, I'll just clear out the hold, and that'll mean we're direct to RTT. Maybe that's the way you're supposed to do it. It's the first time I've actually done a hold in this MD-11, so learning something new. Definitely learning that it does not enter the hold properly, so that was fun. Okay, so we're at 9,500 now. Before it makes that turn, ultimately I need to get down to 3,700. So I'm going to change this because it's on profile anyway. So it should just hold this. There we go, 3,700. So you can see it's holding at 95, but it should profile to 37. That's what I wanted to do. Okay, so it's starting that turn now. I'm just going to let it get almost all the way, well, I'm just going to let it get all the way around and head it back to RTT so it doesn't do something crazy, right? So it does eventually get into the hold properly, but that was a really sloppy hold entry. Like,
Stabilizer motion.
that was pretty bad. Direct next waypoint. Yeah, I guess you could, right? You could just direct to RTT like that. Yeah. Direct to RTT, but then it just still shows the hold, see? That's the problem. So let me get rid of not allowed. Message, altitude error. Yeah, I get a lot of altitude errors on this. Get rid of the hold. There we go. Okay. So now we're from RTT to ADWIG. I don't know why it's climbing right now, except that it's fighting with it.
Stabilizer motion.
Yeah, see, altitude errors all the way across the board. I keep getting that in this aircraft. I'm not really sure why. All these are at or aboves. I did notice that, which stinks because at 63, I want... What's my altitude at 63? I gotta find it now. 4,400. Right, so that's a hard altitude. So this should just be 4,400. Period. It's still showing at or above though. Why is it showing at or above? At altitude, that's why. 4,400 at. There we go. Hopefully that'll make it profile properly, because that's an issue I ran into earlier. I was way too high and I had to take control of the aircraft before I was ready to, and it was because it was just too high. It was not descending quick enough. Several ways to enter a hold that may not appear correct. Yeah, I'd have to look at a manual too, but I've never seen a hold entered that way, so... Yeah, I'm doing the circle to land, Bravo, Charlie. I guess I just wanted to punish myself today. So, that's fine. I hate that flashing. It's so terrible. So terrible. Alright, so I'm just waiting for it to descend. So it should already be descending, right? No, it stays 9,500 till Adwig, and then it starts the descent. And Adwig is 19 nautical miles out. And we should be able to intercept the localizer from there too. Now remember, we're going to fly that localizer up until, basically until we cross 6.3 OEV. Once we cross 6.3 OEV, it basically just becomes a right-hand circuit, right? So what we can do is we can set our heading. I don't know if it'll let me preset it. So that would be 264. I don't know why I'm going that way. Okay, so 264. Really? No, 230. I'm looking at the wrong one. It's a good thing I looked at that. 230. Okay, so we just crossed Adwig. Why are we not descending? Oh, because we haven't crossed it yet. Now we've crossed it. Now we're descending. Okay, so we're looking good. CDU message. It's not an altitude error. Just descend. But now it's trying to climb. What are you doing? Descend. Oh. Okay, let's just give it a second and see if it gets itself under control. If not, I guess I'm just going to have to hand fly the whole thing. Okay, hit the approach land so it grabs the localizer. So Loc 17, it's supposed to be at... This thing scrolled down. Okay, so Loc 14, it's supposed to be at 7,500. I don't know if we're going to make 7,500 by the time we get there. 63 Loc, we're supposed to be at 3,700, and that's when we're going to transition to this guy. Alright. Can you guys still hear me alright? Because my microphone sounds weird all of a sudden. What do we got on comments here? It's all in the direction you headed to enter. And yes, that flashing I hate too. Yeah, no, I understand that, flying with Mike. But when you enter from the opposite direction, it should be a 45-degree turn from the inbound course for 1 minute, and then you make a turn all the way around to the inbound course. That's the way I remember it, but I could be wrong. And yes, the flashing is driving me insane. Alright, I won't be able to look at the comments for a couple minutes because I have my chart up, so bear with me, guys. And there's nothing I can do about the flashing. In the video I did earlier, I actually tried to change it on the video, and I still had nothing but problems with it. So Loc 14, crossing that 1 mile, we're supposed to be at 75, we're not. At 90 Loc, that one just disappeared. We're supposed to be 4,400. We need to get down to 3,700 really once we cross 36 or 63 Loc. So once we cross 63, basically between there and 4.2 is where we're supposed to make that turn. So what I'm going to do at that point is, I think I'm just going to turn off the autopilot and hand fly it. That's what I think I'm going to do. So let's start slowing it down now. That's going to be way too slow. Get the next setting of flaps in. Let's look at our takeoff approach page. So 151 is our V approach speed. So there's flaps. So flaps 35 there, but we need to slow down more. I need those flaps to come out. We're at flaps 28 right now, but we can't go to flaps 30 until we slow down a little further. There we go, 170. Come on down, baby. Oh, that flashing. I'm so sorry for that, guys. I wish I could fix that. I really do. As soon as flaps 35 turns green, there we go. Let's go ahead and put it to flaps 35. That's going to help slow us down a little more. Stop with the landing gear. I don't need it yet. It's doing that because there's no thrust on right now. That should go away once the thrust starts coming up. Maybe. It's not very friendly though, is it? It's annoying. Okay, coming up on 63 loc now. I'm so sorry for the flashing. I wish I could do something about it. That back up. So 63 loc is 2 nautical miles. Hopefully that flashing goes away here shortly. And hopefully the sound stops making noise too. We've got that all the way down to 3,700, so just keep going to 3,700. And there's 63. We're 1 nautical mile right now. Okay, obviously it does not care. Let's just go ahead and put the flaps back up a little bit for the moment, just because I don't want to listen to that. It'll be fine. Okay, so we've crossed 63 loc. Let's go ahead and turn to 230. We could fly this by hand, but we don't have visual right now. So we're going to fly it at 230. I almost nailed that perfect. I got the chart over here. Let me show you guys. It was pretty darn close. So you can see right there. So a little early on the turn, but it's still going to work out just fine. So good stuff there. All right. Where's my visual? So we're basically going to fly all the way to the base of the mountains here.
Altitude.
And we're going to put this just a little further over because the wind's coming off that left side. You can see it's coming off there pretty strong right now. And so I just want to make sure we get all the way over there. So coming up on 3,700 feet. Looking good. Everything's looking good right now. You know, obviously we're using the autopilot to our advantage here. There's no reason not to. We could hand fly it as well. Tired of seeing altitude warnings on there. 151 is our V approach speed. So, all right. Now we're going to bring in that next setting of flaps. I know. We'll get the landing gear down in a second. Just calm yourself. Gear coming down.
Terrain.
We're good. Okay, our next turn is going to be to 264, but not yet. Almost though. Whoop, that's too far.
Terrain.
264. Alright, autopilot coming off. My airplane. Just getting rid of that noise, it's obnoxious. Okay, we do still have auto throttles on, so don't want you to climb. So you see we're just going to skirt along the base of the mountain here, right? Come on, get that nose down just a wee bit. There we go. So then get that next setting of flaps in. And let's bring that speed down to 151.
1,000.
That's way too far. There we go. I'm just trying to keep the nose down right now.
Stabilizer motion.
I mean, like, literally, I'm really fighting to keep that nose down. There we go. That's where we want to be. Okay, so we should be coming up on the church here. It should be this building right here, I believe. I mean, we're just a little to right of where we want to be, but we're looking pretty good. No, that church is a little further up. A little further up. So you can see there's the airfield down there, right? Nope, it's behind us. Okay. I'm looking for the church right now.
Glide slope.
Fuel quantity.
Glide
low.
slope. Glide slope.
Stop with the glide
Glide
slope.
slope. Glide slope.
Okay.
Glide slope.
The church should be right here, so we're going to start our turn.
Glide slope.
I don't know why you're
Glide
giving me a
slope.
glide slope warning
Glide
when
slope.
we're not on an
Glide
ILS.
slope. Glide 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 slope.
Ah, that didn't turn it off. I was
slope.
hoping it would.
Glide slope.
Descending
Glide
a little
slope.
quick there.
Glide slope. Glide slope.
Oh, we gotta keep coming
Glide
around.
slope. Glide 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 slope.
Keep coming around. Oh, that started to descend
Glide
fast.
slope. Glide slope. Glide slope. Glide slope. Glide slope. Glide slope.
Hush.
Glide slope.
Holy
Glide
cow, that
slope.
didn't even come close to
Glide
making that
slope.
turn. Look at where that runway is
Glide
over
slope.
there.
Glide slope. Glide slope. Glide slope. Glide slope. Glide slope.
I know, hush.
Glide slope.
That is an obnoxious
Glide
warning,
slope.
isn't it?
Glide slope. 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 Glide slope.
Dude, we're
Glide
fine.
slope.
We're high.
Glide slope. Glide slope.
Oh, good. I wish I'd have hit that sooner. That was freaking annoying. Alright, we're fine. We're gonna make the landing.
400.
I didn't arm those yet.
3.
Sink rate. Sink rate.
Hush.
Sink rate. Sink rate. Sink. Sink rate. Sink rate. Sink rate. Sink.
30. 20. 10.
That wasn't that bad, believe it or not. Cannot play sound. Come on, stay on the center of the runway. Give me my reverse thrust. Believe it or not, that landing was not that bad. Okay, those reverse thrusters are killing me in this thing. They really are. They take so long to deploy. So yes, that was a very high sink rate, wasn't it? But I actually managed to smooth it out. So it was a rough landing, but it was actually minus... What did it show on there? My thing showed like -5 something. Somebody tell me what it showed on the little overlay thing. Yeah. Tank 2 fuel quantity low. Yeah, my spine, he says. Shut up. It wasn't that bad. Yes, I didn't use the auto brakes. I used manual braking. Always an adventure. I'm not feeling a lot of love for that landing, guys. That was tough. -583, 523. That's not that bad, right? I mean, come on. You guys saw that. That approach was tough. The airplane did not want to make that turn. It definitely did not want to make that turn. There's a reason they don't land MD-11s here in the real world, right? 523 is a little tough, though. Hey, Airman MD, you just missed my rough landing. You got 80 knots there complaining that his spine hurts. I don't think it was that. I don't think it was that bad. I mean, you guys tell me, was it that bad? I mean, it was rough, but I did manage to get her to level off. I mean, it would have been a lot worse. I did not bank 90 degrees. Come on. I kept it at the proper bank angle, maybe just a little bit of overbank. Not feeling any love. That's right, Flying with Mike. If you can walk away from it, you're good. And just for the record, I do have it set so that overstressing the aircraft damages it. What's a go around, Bravo Charlie? What's that? Patrick, you disagree with the logged rate? What do you think the log rate was? You think it was higher or lower? That was tough. Oh, that was a tough one. C-check after. No, come on. An average landing rate in the real world is about minus 250 to 300 feet per minute. That's a normal landing. And then Ryanair and Southwest are closer to, 700 or 800 feet per minute, right? All right, Ian, take it easy, buddy. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate you being on the stream here with us. Be safe out there, okay? All right, let me get that APU starting up here. That was tough. That was tough. I think I should get a little more credit than some of you guys are giving me there. I'm not feeling the love. I think you guys should be cheering me on for that one. I'd say I did pretty darn good. And stop her right there. Get that parking brake on. There we go. Track wire coming off. Little jump. No, there's no jump when I take it off. It's only when I put it on. Seemed less than 523. Still higher, but 500 plus did not seem quite right. I mean, if you're listening to the call outs, you know, the last thing I'm listening to the call outs, and it was 50, 40, 30, 20, 10. So it was pretty close to being, it's still a little quick, but I felt like I really managed to get her to level off a little bit. I'll have to take a look at the replay. I'll save it and try to take a look at it as a replay, and if it'll let me. It hasn't been letting me do replays, but if it'll let me, I'll take a look at the landing as a replay and see just how bad it looked. We'll see, but I don't know if it's gonna let me. So let's get the engines off here. So it goes 1, 3, 2. No, that way. There we go. And the APU should come on automatically, which it did. Fantastic. That was tough. You know, the airplane did not make that turn. Like I was on speed. My speed was good. I was fully configured as we started the turn, and the airplane did not make that turn at all. I mean, you guys saw. Now, apparently 80 knots thinks I was banking close to 90 degrees, but either way, the airplane just did not want to make that turn. Short runway and its cargo. I mean, I still feel like I did all right. All right, Flying with Mike, thanks for joining us, man. I really appreciate having you on here. It was a great time. I hope you enjoyed it. Ended up inspiring you to join a VA yourself, Patrick. Delta Virtual, nice. Never made it past CRJs before quitting because you regularly made 500 plus landings. That's funny. Patrick, you ought to join us over at Mac Air, man. I don't know what our limit is over at Mac Air, but we're a little easier going about it over there. I usually have a pretty smooth landing rate, actually, but yeah, I think if your average was about 500 feet per minute, I think you'd be fine over at Mac Air. So, I mean, Pat might get in touch with you because, you know, Pat's the one who has to do all the paperwork on damaged aircraft. So he might ask you to soften it up a little bit, but I think you'd be all right. We're not going to kick you out. So take a look, macairvirtual.com. I think you'll enjoy it, man. I need a beer after this one. I'll tell you what, man. Happy Gimp just landed in Denver. That's awesome. Few passengers that have headaches now. Oh, was your landing a little rough there, Happy Gimp? Because mine was pretty rough. 500 for the Pro Division. Is it 500? So yeah, for the Pro Division, Airman was just pointing that out down there. 500 is the limit for our Pro Division over there, Patrick, and then 800, as Pat Leclerc just put down there, 800 is the limit for all our other divisions. So if you're keeping it around 500 feet per minute, you'd be fine over there with our stream. Or not with our stream, with our virtual airline over there. So, all right, we got the engines shut down. Whew, that was a rough one, guys. Anybody got any suggestions for the next flight? You guys want to do the MD-11 again next week, or do we want to do something different? You guys let me know on that. You know, I never turned off the landing lights or anything. I was just so exuberant over that amazing landing that I pulled off, right? I know you guys agree with me. Get all these lights off here. Oh, that's fantastic. What else we got here? Parking brake is set. Engines are shut off. We can get the seatbelt signs and all that off. Not that it matters. We don't have passengers back there. Doors are taken care of. We'll leave the IRS selectors on for now. That's fine. Leave the APU run. Actually, we got ground power, so we can turn ground power on. And we'll take the APU power off. Turn that bad boy off. And, oh, I never put the flaps up. Oh, that's awesome. That's absolutely exquisite. I mean, that is par for the course on this one, right? Turn the auxiliary hydraulic pump on, and I should be able to get the flaps up. That's funny. Yeah, there's the flaps coming up now. Oh, that's fantastic. All right, let's see. What do we got here? Yeah, 800 is the max allowed. Okay, so yeah, Patrick, 800. Yeah, I mean, as long as you can keep it less than minus 800. Now, normally I get some pretty good landings in. I know there's kind of an ongoing thing over at Mac Air. A lot of guys can grease some landings in there, and I'm usually pretty good at greasing them in there. But this bird is not easy to land smooth. I'm gonna tell you what. But either way, Join us over there at Mac Air. I think you'll love it, Patrick. Great group of guys over there. You'll have a great time. You really will. So, group flight next week. You guys are thinking GA and a group flight, huh? Okay. So let's think about that for a minute. I'm not opposed to that at all. Do we want to do it in Microsoft Flight Simulator, or I guess you could do either, and we could use what's that program called? Let me look over here real quick. Join FS, right? We could use Join FS, and that. Correct me if I'm wrong, Pat, but that works across X-Plane and Microsoft Flight Simulator, doesn't it? Or does it not? Maybe we just need to do it in Microsoft Flight Simulator and make it easy. Could probably do that, right? I don't know. What do you guys think? So GA aircraft, what do we want to fly? Where do we want to fly to? Get that bad boy down. At least I managed to get it up. The spoilers. The spoiler arming switch. I managed to get the spoiler arming switch up. That's what I meant. Some of you guys, I know somebody just jumped on that immediately. Let's see if the flaps are up now. No, they're not. The auxiliary, yeah. Oh, well, I guess flaps are going to stay down. They need to check them anyway, right? Maintenance needs to check them out. So we're going to leave them as is. Anyway, besides, that plane looks cool with the flaps down. Let's be honest. Look how low those flaps go at 50 degrees, man. That is absolutely exquisite. Join FS works great. So I'm assuming, Pat, so Join FS works between X-Plane and Microsoft Flight Simulator, right? Yeah, it works with all sims. You just said that. Because I was thinking I wouldn't mind maybe doing this guy right here. This Beechcraft King Air C90 and X-Plane 12 is pretty darn good. It's a lot of fun to fly, so I might like to fly that one. Are you thinking something that speed, or do you want to go a little slower with something like a Cessna Skyhawk or maybe a Beechcraft Baron, something like that? What do you guys think? Oh, the MD-11 is a beautiful aircraft, Patrick. You're not kidding, man. I noticed you said up there that you Air Force Basic and then Tech School training, so you're in the Air Force now? I'm going to leave this up for a second. I'm waiting to see what you guys think. If you want to do something like the King Air, or you want to go a little slower, or somewhere in between. So this would be a fast, cross between general aviation and commercial aircraft. This would be a fast general aviation, and then this would be your typical, for anybody who's wondering why I picked those three, that's why. I like this one a lot, but I'm not, I've got no problem hopping over into Microsoft Flight Simulator and setting that up, doing something in there as well. So just waiting a few more seconds here to see if anybody has any thoughts on any of that. Let me just discard changes here. So I'm going to have to wrap this one up here in just a minute, guys. But I tell you what, the comments section should be open, so feel free to add your thoughts down there. California Air National Guard, fantastic. Well, thank you very much for your service. I really appreciate that, Patrick. Congratulations, too, on finishing basic and tech school. That's good stuff. All right, I think we're going to have to wrap it up with that, guys. Listen, down in the comments section after this is posted as a video, put your suggestions down there. Pat, let's you and I get together and figure out the best way to get this set up. And I think let's do that. Let's do a live stream group flight, and we can get a few folks on there. Now, I think the best way to do that is if you're gonna fly with us, you got to be a subscriber. I think that's fair. So you got to be a subscriber, and what we'll do is we'll hop on here. We'll have everything set up, and then I will provide the information in the chat, or I'll have Pat do it. Provide the information in the chat to get linked up with us. And then we can go from there, and we'll decide. We'll know where we're going to fly and what we're going to fly by then. How's that sound, everybody? Hopefully that sounds good, all of you guys. I think that's going to be the best way to do it. There's a lot of coordination to set those up, so I don't want it to be too difficult. I think the best thing to do, like I said, is we'll once like me and Pat will join up together. Maybe 30 minutes before we kick off the live stream, we'll have everything set ready to go, and then when we kick off the live stream. You have to be a subscriber. I'll change it so that you have to have been a subscriber for at least a day or something like that, so that not everybody can just jump in and make a mess of things. And that way, folks who jump on here, they can jump into the chat, and we'll give you the information to join us for the flight, and then we'll go from there. And it should be a good time, and we'll have a plan in place. So. That's going to wrap it up for this one, ladies and gentlemen. I do appreciate all of you joining me for this flight. I had a great time. It was really a crazy landing. I'm going to see if I can get it to replay. I'm going to save it as a replay, and if I can get it to show up, maybe I'll play it next week or something. It wasn't that bad. Give me a little credit. Managing to get this fat old bird down here into Innsbruck, that's some mad skills. You guys got to give me credit for that. So I appreciate y'all joining me. I had a great time. I hope you guys did too. Until next time, as always, keep the blue side up unless otherwise instructed by ATC. God bless you all and have an absolutely wonderful day.